in this class, we combine Unit 1 and Unit 15 from the textbook. They are both about license law, rules from the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. When we say license law, we mean the laws and the rules that only apply to people that have a real estate license. So, to be clear, there's currently only 2 people out of the 125 of us here. There's only 2 people who have to follow these license law and rules that we're about to talk about for the next 4 nights. Who are the 2 people that have to follow this license law and rules right now? Who are the 2 people that have to follow these?
You and Seth.
Me and Seth. Because we're the only. So do these rules and laws apply to you yet?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Do these rules and laws apply to buyers? What do y'all think?
No.
What do y'all think? Do these rules and laws apply to buyers?
No.
No. Because they don't have a what?
License.
A
license.
They don't have a real estate license. These rules and laws apply to sellers?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
No.
Because they don't what?
Have a
Oh,
license.
Real
yeah.
estate
They don't
license.
have a real estate license. Do these rules and laws apply to people who are renting property?
No.
Oh.
No. Because they don't have a what?
Real estate license.
Real estate license. So why then is this the first thing we're going to teach you? Because you're here to get a what?
Real estate license.
Real estate license.
License. And the very first thing the Real Estate Commission wants us to focus on with you is what's going to change the minute you have a real estate license. What are all the rules that you don't have to worry about right now because you can't possibly break them because you don't have a real estate license that you will have to worry about the minute you do have a real. How many of you all have never really thought about it from that perspective? That
Right.
getting the license actually makes you subject to a lot of laws that you're not subject to right now. How many of you have never thought about it from that perspective? That you're actually going to take on a whole bunch of responsibilities that you don't currently have.
You're getting a license to make your life harder.
That's exactly what it is. Which is why we're well paid because
Yeah.
we're taking on a bunch of responsibility. So the Real Estate Commission wants to be sure that you're ready for that responsibility by thinking about
Absolutely.
these are the things that I'm going to have to follow that I don't have to follow right now. But if I get to where I want to get and I get a real estate license, I'm going to have to do this stuff. I'm going to have to live by this stuff.
Somebody said to me yesterday or the day before, I want to get a real estate license so that way I don't have to do much and I can get paid the big bucks. And I was like,
Huh.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It really doesn't work
It
that
really-
now.
it's
I'm
not.
not saying that there aren't people that don't do it that way. There are plenty of people that do it that way. They're terrible at the
know.
job. But what eventually ends up happening is those people get sued or those people get disciplined by the Real Estate Commission and they lose their real estate license. So
Heck, you guys might have encountered some of those people in your own real estate transactions that made you think, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. But
absolutely.
here's the thing, those are the people, and I'm not trying to get us on a rant about, all of our terrible real estate experience, because trust me, I've heard probably almost all of them. But still, like, yeah, when you get your real estate license, you are subject to a lot more rules, a lot more laws, and the ones who actually take it seriously are the ones that make a difference, not even just in the real estate industry. Well, I'm sorry, just not in other people's lives, but also in the real estate industry itself. We need more people who really take heed to these rules and laws, and that's why we, present it in a very serious manner, because we present it to you the exact same way that we follow them. So we hope to instill that level of expertise in y'all.
That's exactly right. We want to make sure that you all are thinking about this the way we think about it on a daily basis.
So the thing you probably need to get yourself in the headspace of right now is that what we're getting ready to go through does not apply to everybody. It doesn't apply to buyers. It doesn't apply to sellers. It only applies to people who have a real estate license. So while it might not apply to you right now, it does need to be on your radar because you are trying to get your license. So
that's exactly right.
it's important for you in your near future.
I want to show you something that's in Learn Test Pass because, everything is. Within your Learn Test Pass, this is the sort of the welcome screen, the landing screen that you get when you first log in. If you click on the little menu button up here on the left, which is just the 3 lines that are over there, right here. If you click on that, It'll drop down, and in here in the welcome section, there's several documents, and one of them is called the License Law Rules and Comments. Almost every single slide that we will cover in Unit 1, that's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, all of Unit 1 is covered in this document from the Real Estate Commission. And
you all should have read it before now, because, you know, that was assigned before class.
Oh, that was assigned. That wasn't assigned. You mean
that was not assigned before
that
class?
was not assigned. No, but one of the things I suggest you do. Now, here's the thing: you're not going to be able to learn this stuff by simply reading this, and that's because it was written by the Real Estate Commission. That doesn't mean you shouldn't read it. You absolutely should read it. As a matter of fact, they've changed it now, but the link to it on their website, it used to be called the Study Guide. For years, they called this the Study Guide. How many of you all think if they created a document called Study Guide, you should probably know what's in there when you get ready to take the license test? What do y'all think?
I think it'd be kind of important.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of.
So make sure, and again, this is in, I'm going to show you where it is again. If you click in Learn Test Pass, it's right up here in the introduction section, which is the very first thing in Learn Test Pass. And it's called License Law Rules and Comments. And
so if there's a way to distill that, you know, in the best way possible for somebody who, if I was in the class and I needed to hear it another way, I would have, what would have made me realize that this is an important document is that it is basically Unit 1 condensed into one file.
It is. Norma asked in the chat, and that's a good way for your questions. You can also raise your hand when you have questions. Your digital hand is helpful so we can get you in order. Norma said, do we also need to print the syllabus? I do not recommend printing the syllabus. I think that's a little bit overkill, quite honestly, for most people. You can, if you want to. The syllabus comes from the Real Estate Commission, not from us. But I think that if you print the slides, you're going to have enough paper. I really do. Now, I would maybe print this document so that you can read it. But make sure you're reading it as we go through this information. And by the way, we've laid out Unit 1 in the order that it shows up in this document. If you notice right here, the first section of this is called Requirement for a License. And that's going to be what we talk about tonight, who needs a real estate license. So our Unit 1 is laid out in the same order this document's set up. Tiffany, I see your hand up.
Mine still has, cause y'all know I'm back. I know you missed me, Travis. I missed you too.
Of course.
But mine still says like from when I was completing it. So is it going to stay that way, or can I like?
That's up to you. If you want it reset, you can email Becky, and she'll be glad to reset it for you. Yeah, Becky at travtalks.com, and she'll be glad to reset it for you if that's what you want.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. So we're going to start talking about the rules. And what did we say? You already got a quiz. What did we say was going to be the first thing we're going to talk about these rules? What did I say was topic number 1? What is the first thing that we're going to talk about here? It's all what Unit 1.1 is all about. What is the first thing?
Who needs a license?
Who is required to have a real estate license, right? Not because they think it's cute, not because they want a business card that says, I'm a real estate broker, but who does the law require to have a license? So again, is this a law that applies to you yet? No. Is this a law that applies to you yet, folks?
No.
Nope. Is it a law that you want to apply to you?
Yes.
So here's the thing about this law, and we're going to go through a lot of examples and a lot of detail about this, but the law itself is actually pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The law says these people or these companies are performing brokerage activities and must have a what?
Real estate license.
A real estate license. I want you to start at the beginning of that law first. What does it say? These people or these companies are doing what? Performing what?
Real estate activity.
Brokerage activity. So there's a fancy word, brokerage. What does that mean? They're just acting like they're a real estate what? broker.
Real estate
Right.
broker, real estate agent, same thing.
Right. So they're performing brokerage activities, and they what?
Must have a real estate.
Have a real estate license. So here's the thing. Now that we know what the purpose of the rule is, let's look at what it says results in you must have a real estate license. Because I can promise you something. If you operate based on what you think you know, you probably are going to struggle with this section about who is required to have a real estate license.
What do you mean, Travis? Can you give me an example?
So I'll give you an example, quick one. How many of y'all think you need a real estate license in order to be paid a commission on a real estate transaction in North Carolina? How many of y'all think that's true? You need a real estate license to be paid a commission on a real estate transaction.
No,
What would think about that?
I don't think it's true.
Yes.
Let me give you the best answer you could probably give to that specific question.
What answer you want?
It depends.
It does depend.
Yeah.
And if you say it's automatically true, you're wrong.
If you say it's automatically false,
You're wrong.
you're wrong.
Right? Because the law says that simply getting paid is not enough to require you to need a real estate license.
Right, because if that was the case, that would require all sellers of real estate to have a real estate license. I mean, I don't want to say almost, but almost always, all sellers get paid when they sell their home.
Right? What do y'all think? Don't sellers get paid to sell their home?
Yeah.
Right? And they don't need a real estate. They don't need a real estate license. People that own real estate and rent it out, don't they get paid for that?
Yes.
And they probably don't need a real estate license either. So simply getting paid, no matter what we call the payment, whether we call it a referral fee or a commission or a compensation or a thank you, it doesn't matter. Payment by itself is not enough. Now, payment by itself is enough for us to get suspicious that you might need a real estate license, because here's what it says. Persons and business entities, so that means persons and companies,
Yep.
who, for consideration is a fancy way of saying money or valuable. So, a Rolex, is that consideration?
Yeah.
What do y'all think? Is a Rolex consideration? What do y'all think?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's got value, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A lot.
Is an iPad consideration?
Yes.
Yes, because it has what?
Value.
Value. Is a $10,000 check consideration?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is a $50 gift card to Panera consideration?
Yes.
Yes, because they all have what?
Value.
But I thought Seth and I just mentioned that getting money's not enough to require you to have a license, because it's not.
That's right.
It's not. The rule goes
You
on.
can't look at, and that's the thing. So the point we're trying to make here is that you cannot literally just see that somebody's getting paid and let that be the automatic trigger point that makes you think, oh, they need a license. It's not about getting paid solely. It's not about solely being paid.
So if I said Amy just got a $10,000 commission check on a real estate license, does
On
she
a
need
real
a
estate
license?
transaction?
Does she need a license? And here's your answer choices. Yes, she needs a license. No, she doesn't need a license. Or I don't know enough to know. What would your answer be? If I just said Amy got paid $10,000 on that real estate transaction, what would you say?
I don't know enough.
I don't know enough.
I don't know enough.
Information.
I don't have enough information. Is it important that she got paid? Absolutely.
Yes.
Because here's the thing. If you're doing it for free, you don't need a license for that.
All right.
Real estate brokers do not work for free. I got a question for y'all.
Right.
If I was to say to you, do you need a license to list somebody else's house for sale? And your answer choices were, yes, you need a license. No, you don't need a license. Or I don't have enough information to know. What do you think your answer should be?
I don't have enough
I
information
don't have
to
enough
know.
information.
Still don't have enough information to know.
So I saw a couple of y'all jump to yes and no.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, you got to get to the point where you don't just want to answer a extreme answer. A lot of the correct answers in this course is going to be somewhere in the middle. And you got to be okay with taking that step back and not having an all or nothing answer. Like always yes, always no.
So what information did I leave out of that when I said, oh, you're listing somebody's house for sale? What information did I leave out that would be important to know?
You don't know if you're doing it for yourself or somebody else.
Are we getting
paid or something of value?
Right. Are we getting paid is one important thing. And some of y'all are also on the other one. Whose damn house is it?
Yeah.
Right? You know, like we need to know the whole picture. Don't give me a piece. Give me all of it, baby. I need to know the whole situation. If you want me to tell you whether a real estate license is required, I need to know everything about that situation. So what's the first question I'm going to ask when somebody says, I want to list my neighbor's house for sale? Do I need a real estate license? What's the first question I'm going to ask them? Are you planning to get what?
Paid.
Are you planning to get paid? And if that answer is no, I'm going to do it for free. Do they need a real estate license? No. So you're telling me somebody who doesn't have a real estate license can put a for sale sign in front of somebody else's house? What y'all are telling me?
If they're not getting paid.
Yes, they can if they're not getting paid.
If they're not getting
But now, if they say, yeah, I'm planning to get paid, I'm also going to ask them I'm also going to ask them, see, there it goes. Somebody jumps to a little bit of a conclusion. We got to be careful with it.
You got to be careful.
I got a follow-up question. Who owns that house that you're going to be selling? Because if you're selling a house that you are a owner of or a part owner of, do you need a real estate license to get paid to sell that house?
No, because you own it.
No, because what does the law say? The law says you only need it when you're getting paid and you're doing that service for who?
Somebody else.
For somebody other than yourself.
So here's the thing, you guys really have to make sure if you're going to answer yes to needing a license, you got to make sure all three of those requirements are present. So I would count it out. Real estate activity, for others, for compensation. And if all three of those are not checked, then no real estate license is required.
That's exactly right. We want to check to see. So let's go through just some example situations, and we're gonna come back to this rule. Don't worry about that. We're gonna talk about it for a long time. But I just want to kind of see where your brain is. Now, you're gonna see something pop up on your screen, and we use a system called Poll Everywhere. If it'll load. Sometimes it's very finicky. I never know what it's going to decide to do. But we can at least read the question to you while it decides to load, and if not, we can get your answer. It says, Zamir does not have a real estate license, and he's purchasing his first home. Zamir decides he does not need a buyer's agent. Is it a violation of North Carolina real estate license law for him to be paid the $12,500 buyer's agent commission on the transaction? Now, I want you to read through that thing, and I want you to think about all what we just talked about. Number one, is there something involving real estate? Number two, is this person being compensated? And number three, is the work that they're doing for other people other than themselves, or are they doing the work for themselves? Because remember, unless you have all three things, then it doesn't require a license. So what do y'all think about this one? I see most of you are answering in the chat, which is great. I don't know why this is not loading. I gotta find something other than Poll Everywhere stuff. I hate when it doesn't load like that, but luckily it's loading over here on the other screen.
And here's the thing, guys. So even though there might be 4 different answer choices that could be possible that could show up. Oh, so here we have 2. But for instance, let's say we had 4 answer choices that you could choose from. Just getting down to the basics of it, like yes or no, can get you in a really good spot. Because if you know the answer is no, or on the flip side, if the question was worded differently and the answer would have been yes, you're eliminating probably 2 answer choices at that point. Hopefully 3. So if you have already decided like yes or no, that's already getting you 50% there. So I love that you guys were all in agreement on that.
So What do we think? Is it yes or is it no? What do we, I saw a lot more no's than I saw yeses, Seth. I don't know about you. What do I think?
I see a lot of no's. I don't think I see a single
No.
yes.
Yeah, I saw a couple in the poll everywhere. So
Um,
no, this is not a violation. No, this does not require a license. Even
And so
though
I wonder if some of y'all got caught up on that, the way it was phrased. And that's the thing we always get is, oh, it's the way it's worded. No, you got to get to the point where that's not an excuse anymore. $12,500 buyer's agent commission. Is that where some of y'all probably got thrown off?
I'm sure some people look at that and they're like, well, if it says agent's commission, you got to be an agent to get it. Nah, you don't.
Because it's a license law. It's a license rule.
Because and look at everybody hitting on the reason, Seth.
Yes.
Why does this not require a license? Because
That's the key thing.
he's purchasing what?
The home for
A home for himself.
A home for himself. I got a question for y'all. I got a question for you now. Now this is gonna be a little personal. Sorry, I dropped my pen. How many of you bought your own house and you had no idea that legally in the state of North Carolina you could represent yourself and be paid as your own buyer's agent? How many of you does that apply to? That you bought a home and you literally had no idea that there was such a thing as being paid to be your own buyer's agent. Well,
Here's the thing. It could happen, but I don't want everybody to get trigger happy with this new information and think that you were done wrong. If you didn't ask for it, nobody's going to pay it.
Well, that's exactly right.
And just because you ask for it doesn't mean somebody's also going to pay it. But here's the thing. The thing that we're focusing on is that you legally could have been paid a buyer's agent commission on your own transaction or a seller's agent commission, whatever you want to call it. But if you're in your own transaction, you can legally get paid real estate commissions in your own transaction without having a license. Now, it's a different story to say whether somebody's going to actually agree to pay that to you or not. Somebody could absolutely say, you don't have a real estate license. Well, I don't pay anybody who doesn't have a real estate license. That's valid. Totally valid. But here's the thing. If you were a savvy enough negotiator and you were able to get somebody to pay you a commission before you were even licensed,
there's no law stopping you. That's exactly
There's no law against it.
That's exactly right. Now, and here's the thing. Are we going to be tested, do you think, on common practice? Or are you going to be tested on the law? What do y'all think you're going to be tested on?
the law.
Law.
The
All
law.
day long.
The law.
Now, I just want to make sure. Isaiah, Vanessa, do you have your hand up for a question? Or were you just saying, hey, I was one of those people that didn't know that could happen? I think that's what it was. Yeah, I saw the hands. Good. You're good. You're good. I saw Amy raise her hand. Haley raise her hand. Vanessa had it. Isaiah. Both Amy's said I did not know that. And so a lot of people don't realize that that's part of our law. Now, here's the thing. As Seth mentioned, a lot of people like to jump to, oh, I was done wrong. I didn't know that. But here's the thing. You weren't done wrong by not knowing that. You simply didn't know the law well enough to represent yourself. Here's what I would tell you. If you didn't know that, you probably weren't qualified to represent yourself. Now, Janice, that's different than for sale by owner. For sale by owner would be representing yourself not when you're buying the property, but when you're what?
Selling.
You're selling the property. But that's also the same thing. Can an owner represent themselves and list their own home for sale and get paid in the transaction and not need a real estate license? What do we think?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, they can. Can you represent yourself in a court of law? Is that possible?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. So why do more people not do it? Because they think it would not go well.
Yes.
Right? They think, you know what? I probably need somebody representing me. And here's the reality. I'm going to say this, and because I mean it. Almost every buyer needs a good real estate broker representing them. Almost every seller needs a good real estate broker. The problem is that we've got too many real estate brokers that aren't good. That aren't doing the job the way it's supposed to be done. I'll tell you what, you'll never hear from one of my clients and never hear from one of Seth's clients. Oh, I could have done that myself. You know what they say? You know what our clients say? Holy crap, I could have not done that shit by myself. There's no way. But that's the
I mean,
difference
heck,
between
sometimes I feel like I can't even do it myself. You
That's
know,
exactly
It takes
right.
a
That's
team.
because there's a lot of knowledge that goes along with it. But that's different than the law saying you gotta have an agent. So is there any law that says you have to have an agent? Because I'm pretty sure you're going to be tested on that. Is there any law that says a buyer's got to be represented by an agent, a seller's got to be represented by an agent, even to get paid? Does that law exist?
No.
It does not. It does not. So why don't we try another question to apply this rule to?
Make sure you really think about it.
Okay? Yeah,
Don't go to
absolutely.
extremes.
That's exactly right. So let me see if I can get this. Let me see if I can get this to launch here.
I'm
Maybe
going to throw a QR code in the chat. You can join on your phone if you want to, but I just like to open up a little browser here to the side because when I pick my phone up, I start checking my notifications and whatnot. So
exactly. So this one says Catherine has never been licensed in real estate nor taken any real estate classes. She offers to list her neighbor's home for sale and handle the entire transaction for free because the neighbor is a really good friend. Is this a violation of North Carolina license law? What do we think this is a violation of license law? So Catherine's never been licensed. She's not taken any real estate classes. She's not done any of those things. Look, it finally works, Seth. There you go.
Nice.
I got to activate the question, though. I didn't do that yet.
So with this, though, I will say part of taking this class is not only learning the material, but also practicing questions in real time, which is what I think kind of sets us apart from a real estate school. Like, yeah, you might have other real estate schools that will do practice questions with you in class, but I really don't think they're going to tear them apart like we do. I certainly had no practice questions in my class. I just had to improvise as I went. But here's the thing. When you read this kind of question, I really hope you guys are focusing on some of the most important pieces in this question. And if you're not there yet, that's fine, but practice does make perfect. That's why we are always telling you to stay in, learn, test, pass outside of class and inside class. But anyways, here's the thing. So this question here says, Catherine has never been licensed in real estate. Okay, kind of important piece of information. Then it goes on to say, nor taken any real estate classes. Well, that's just doubling down on the fact that they just told me she wasn't licensed. It's kind of unnecessary extra information. And then it goes on to say, she offers to list her neighbor's home for sale. Okay, so we got some brokerage activity going on there. So kind of like 1/3 of the way there towards needing a license. And it says, handle the entire transaction for free. We're missing one piece of that license law rule there. And it says because the neighbor's a really good friend. I don't care if it's an acquaintance or what. I don't care. Right. It's the fact that she did it for free that's important to me. And it says, is this a violation of license law? And it looks like majority of y'all said no. This is not a violation. And you're right. You're correct. This is not a violation. The fact that Catherine is willing to do this work for free means she's not doing it as a professional. Professionals get what, folks?
Compensation.
Professionals get compensated. They get paid in some way or another. Now, here's the thing. I don't want you to think that compensation is limited to commission. Could compensation be a gift card to Catherine's favorite restaurant? Oh, you helped me get my house sold, so I'm going to give you a gift card to your favorite restaurant. Could that be compensation?
That could be compensation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be considered.
And could that change the answer to this question? Could if we had inserted that in here, that all Catherine is going to get is a measly $200 gift card to the Angus Barn, would that change the answer here?
It absolutely would. What would the answer be?
Yes. And then the answer
would be yes.
This is a violation. This would be a violation. And it's not just because of the payment, but it's because now all of the things are present. Right now, you would have doing a real estate activity, doing it for somebody other than the person that owns the property, and getting paid, getting something of value.
We see this time and time again where some people will really focus in on one part of that 3 rule and they'll just look for that the entire time. Probably the most common or prominent one that people look for is if somebody's getting paid. That's not enough. You got to really discipline yourself to look at that entire rule where it's like, okay, getting paid, I'm 1/3 of the way there. Is this person doing real estate for others? And obviously doing the real estate would be the 3rd part. And if you're struggling with that, Corbin said the quiz explains the right and wrong answers really well too. So if you're starting to struggle with that, really pay attention to that explanation because it will constantly remind you, make sure you're looking for those 3 things.
I love that. How
Trigger
many
the
of y'all
rule.
think the way we're explaining this is valuable after we talk about these questions, right? How many of y'all think that's valuable, right? Well, we've done the same thing in Learn Test Pass. If you go in there and you're taking those quizzes, those explanations are there, and those explanations are more important than the questions themselves.
100%. So even if you get a question right in Learn Test Pass, make sure you go down and look at the explanation itself, because I can guess my way to a right answer all day long.
That's right.
And that doesn't mean I got it right for the right reason. So, you know, you really got to put in the work here. Make sure you understand why you got it right, why you got it wrong. And if it still doesn't make sense after that, send us a screenshot, and we'll happy to answer it over email.
Yep. You want to read this one to him, Seth? I'll zoom the answers up a little bit.
So you can use that same link that we've been throwing in the chat if you want to rejoin it. So Bob owns an apartment complex and informs all of his current residents that he will give anyone who brings him a new tenant 1 month of free rent. Is this allowed in North Carolina license law? So this one's a little bit of a loaded question, and it's going to kind of flip the perspective on you a little bit.
Yeah, this is a little bit tougher question. It is. I'm not saying the answer's the same or different. I'm just saying it's a little bit tougher question, because now we have to look at 2 people.
Yeah.
We have to look at Bob, but we also have to look at the tenant. We have to see if either side is violating the law here.
Right.
So let's focus on Bob first. Let's talk about Bob first. Okay, so I'm gonna circle Bob's name here so we can remind ourselves. Okay, we're focused on Bob. Okay, is Bob participating in a real estate activity here? Is Bob participating in a real estate activity here? What do y'all think?
Yes. And make sure you only answered the question at hand. So all we're asking is he participating in something related to real estate?
I'm not saying does he need a real estate license. I'm saying is Bob doing something real estate related here by renting out this apartment? What do y'all think?
Right.
Yes.
It's an activity.
Yes.
So Bob is participating in a real estate activity. That's a check mark. But that doesn't mean he necessarily needs a license.
1/3 of the way there.
We need to further move on. Is Bob getting paid? You know, is Bob being compensated for this?
I don't necessarily expressly see where he's getting compensated, but I can infer.
It doesn't say for sure he is, but even if you said, oh yeah, he's getting paid because he's collecting rent, does that get us to needing a license, or does that simply get us 2/3 of the way there? What do y'all think?
I don't think it's 2/3.
I think 2/3, but the tenants are getting compensated by free rent.
Let's focus here on Bob.
Here we got to focus on Bob first. You can't jump from one person to another because there's 2 people involved here.
Bob owns the land. And yeah, let's just say he could be getting compensated, because if somebody's renting out an apartment, okay, cool. Yeah, they're getting compensated for renting out that apartment. But who is Bob renting it out for? Think about Bob.
Who's Bob doing the work for?
Himself.
Who's Bob working for?
He's renting it out for himself. He's doing the work for himself.
He's working for himself because it says Bob what? Owns the apartment complex. So folks, does 2 of the 3 get us to Bob needing a license, or does Bob not need a license? What do y'all think?
Bob does not need a license. Bob does not need a license, because why? We're missing one piece of the 3-part rule.
And so what's the thing that makes it so Bob doesn't need a license? Now notice I'm not focused on everybody in the picture yet. I'm only talking about Bob. What is the thing that makes it so that Bob does not need a license?
He owns the apartment complex.
He owns the property. So any work he does renting it out is working for who?
Himself.
Himself. Everybody good with that? Okay.
Now, we have another aspect we have to look through. So we're not saying this is the final answer. We're just saying we got halfway through it. So now we've got to look through another perspective. We got to look through another lens. Whose lens do we have to look at it through now?
Okay. So now let's talk about the new tenant X, right? The new tenant, right? Everybody with me on that?
The residents.
No, not the residents yet. I'm gonna get them last because we actually got 3 parties involved here, right? I'm talking about I'm gonna focus on the new tenant first.
Okay.
Right? So we got a new tenant coming in to rent these apartments. Everybody with me on that?
All right.
And I'm going to keep them in purple. Is the new tenant doing a real estate activity by renting an apartment? Is that a real estate activity?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Wouldn't say it's anything else. I mean,
What do y'all think?
Yes.
yeah,
Real
absolutely.
estate activity.
It's not a lawn care related activity. It's a real estate activity.
Real estate. Is the new tenant being compensated?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
He getting free rent.
Not rental.
Not the rent.
Tenant getting free rent? I don't see that.
No.
No.
Who's getting the free rent, folks?
Oh, okay.
Resident.
Resident.
Other
Bring.
Resident. So is the new tenant receiving any compensation?
No.
no.
It doesn't tell me.
I don't see the new tenant receiving any compensation at all.
Hey,
Doesn't
and
mean-
in return, the new tenant gets such and such. The new tenant gets this. It doesn't say
Right.
that.
It doesn't say the tenant's getting anything. It says the current residents are, but is the new tenant getting anything out of this? What do y'all think?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So here's the thing. We could stop right there with the new tenant, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So what do
Yes,
you think?
yes.
Do they need a license or do they not need a license?
No license.
No license.
No,
needed.
no. The
No
current
license.
resident needs a license.
So far, is there any license required so far?
No.
So far, no.
Oh, but we got a third person involved here. What do y'all think?
Yep.
Yes, the current
resident.
resident.
Who's the third
Resident.
person involved here?
resident.
Current resident receiving that.
Current residents. The people that already live there, that are referring this person, right?
Right.
Yes.
Oh, first question, is the current resident performing some type of a real estate related activity by referring a new tenant? Is that a real estate activity?
Yes, it's an activity.
Yep.
Yes.
Real estate related activity. Recommending in real estate is a real estate related activity. Recommending a place for somebody to live, recommending a real estate broker to somebody, recommending you should buy that house. That's a real estate activity.
How many of y'all was that a shocker for you?
Yeah. A
It's
recommendation is a
totally
real estate
a
activity.
real estate related activity.
Yep. It's related to what?
Make
What
sure
are
you
they
write that down in
recommending?
your notes.
What are they recommending? A piece of what? Real estate, right? That apartment is a piece of real estate.
Right.
So that's a real estate activity. Say, hey, you should come live here because it's awesome. That's a real estate activity right there. Now, question number 2. Is the current resident, stay focused on them, being compensated for that recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are. What are they receiving for that recommendation?
1 month.
A free month.
A month of free
A
rent.
month of free rent. Let me ask y'all a question. If your
have
landlord
a
told you, you recommend somebody over here and they sign a lease, we'll give you a month of free rent. Doesn't that make you want to find somebody to recommend real damn hard? What do
I
y'all
don't know
think?
about y'all, but that's got some value to me right there.
Very valuable. You'd be all up in that office like, that's my friend, yo.
Uh-huh.
My boo over there.
Everybody
You
that
better
came
give
in
me
that
my
office.
give me my month of rent. Right?
Person that came in that office, I'd be like, I remember you. We met at Wendy's.
Right, exactly. So there's compensation. And here's the third question. Is that current tenant recommending something for themselves? Are they saying, I would like to rent this apartment? Or are they renting the apartment out for themselves? Or are they bringing others together and helping others? What do y'all think?
They're bringing others.
Bring
They're helping
others.
others. They're helping the landlord find a tenant, and they're helping the tenant find an apartment. They're working for others. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Look at
Okay.
the check marks, folks. The current tenant is performing a real estate activity. The current tenant is receiving compensation for that real estate activity, and the current tenant is doing all that work for somebody other than themselves. What do they need?
A real estate license.
They need a
State
license.
license. So
And it doesn't
now
tell me
you
they
are
have
fine.
one.
You are now finally able to answer the full question. Is this allowed or is this a violation of license law to have this situation going on here, folks? What do y'all think?
Violation.
This is a violation.
This is a violation. Does that
Now
make sense
put
to everybody?
Yes.
your hands in the air if you have seen this happen before.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen it happen a lot of times. I can name one apartment complex that I just moved from that it happened on the daily. So here's the thing, don't let the real world and the practical side of things, the fact that people break the law, don't let that stray you away from you're being tested on the law here. It's like we call this the speed limit rule, where it's like, yeah, this is totally a violation of license law, but nobody's oblivious to the fact that it does happen. It's almost like saying, okay, yeah, it's 55 miles an hour on the highway over there, but I'm not going to pretend like I don't see people
speed.
70.
That's right.
On it. So, this is kind of like going 58 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone.
It doesn't mean necessarily the real estate commission is going to go after somebody. Sam said, I used to work in property management and we did this. So this got me, right? See, Sam didn't even know he was breaking the law. Breaking the law without even realizing breaking the law.
And
right?
this is what we're saying, like answering questions based on what you know is what's really going to kind of be the detriment of you. So make sure you really kind of wipe the knowledge that you came in here with. If you're struggling with this one, you just got to tell yourself, damn, what I was doing was
and
right.
Notice what we had to do. Did we have to just apply this test to just one person, or did we have to apply this test to everybody involved in the transaction?
Everybody.
Right? Everybody. So think about it. In a normal, like a real estate sale, you might have a buyer, you might have a seller, you might have an attorney, you might have a lender, you might have a seller's agent, you might have a buyer's agent. Who do we have to apply this test to in that transaction to determine who needs a real estate license? All of them. We literally have to look person by person and say, okay, do you need a license? Do you need a license? Because the answer is going to be different for different people. And I love, I'm going to go back up and give credit to this question. I love Dante's question. Dante asked, so even though the current tenants aren't actually physically seeing money or physically getting money, they still need a real estate license. Yes, because compensation or consideration is not just actual dollar bills, right? It's not actual physical money. It's anything that has a monetary value to it. And folks, free rent definitely has what? Value. If it has value, if you can put a dollar amount on it, then that is compensation as far as the real estate commission is concerned.
Yes.
Okay? Vanita, I see your hand up.
So, Travis, there are three components in this question. One is Bob.
Correct.
One is the resident who's
I'll color code it again. There's Bob. That's person number one, and we said for Bob, no, he doesn't need a license.
There is the resident who's bringing in the tenant, and there is the
There's
tenant
the
who's coming
current
in.
resident, and we said yes, they need a license, and then there was the third person, which was the new tenant, right here, and we said no for them. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yep. 3 people involved. 3 people involved. So I got a question for you then. Let's say, and it's in the same sort of idea here, okay? Let's say that Connie is buying a home from Mary. Connie is buying a home from Mary. I'll write this down, okay? So Connie, oh, that's a terrible color. Can't really see. Connie is purchasing a home from Mary. Tom is helping them and will get $1,000. Mary will get $400,000, and Connie will get $10,000. Talk to me. How many people are we looking at there?
3.
3.
3, right?
Yes.
Everybody see that?
Yes.
3 people.
Yes.
So if I was to say, does this require a real estate license? And am I asking about just Mary, just Connie, just Tom, or am I asking you to individually check all 3 of them?
Individually
Check all three.
Individually check
three of
all
them.
three of them. We have to check everybody involved in the transaction. So let's start with Connie. How about our girl Connie here? Connie is purchasing a home from Mary, and it says Connie's going to get $10,000. What y'all think about Connie? Does Connie need a real estate license?
No.
I think she's good.
But what if we wouldn't know who she's buying it for?
She's purchasing.
She's purchasing.
She is the
Her
one.
transaction.
If she's buying it, what is she, folks?
Buyer.
Buyer.
I'm the buyer.
Right? When we don't say somebody's purchasing something unless they are the what?
The buyer.
Buyer. Doesn't matter what she plans to do with it after she buys it. I don't care if she's buying it for her little boy toy. As long as she's buying it, she's the buyer. And therefore, she does not need a what?
Real estate license.
No
license.
license required.
Because she's working for who?
herself.
Herself. How about our girl Mary here?
She needs a
Mary's getting
license.
$400,000. Does Mary need a real estate license?
Yes.
No, because she owns the home.
Owns the property, correct?
Seller.
Right? She is the
Correct.
seller, right? You have to look at her role. She is the seller. She owns the property. Who's she working for?
Self.
Working for herself. So does she need a license to get that $400,000?
No.
No. How about our friend Tom over here?
Yes.
Let's look at Tom.
What's Tom?
the husband.
No.
If that was part of it, they would tell you that. Not leave anything up for guess here, folks. What is Tom's only role in this transaction? He's not the buyer. He's not the seller. He's simply what?
He's helping.
He's helping other people in a real estate transaction and getting what? Getting paid for it. So what about our boy Tom here?
He needs a
license.
He needs a license.
That's also another really one of my biggest pieces of advice is don't add to the question.
Right.
Don't assume.
Don't assume, don't add it, take it exactly at its word. I promise you there are no mistakes in these questions, and don't take away information as well.
So here's what I see in here. I see a buyer that doesn't need a real estate license even though they're receiving money because they're working for themselves. I see a seller that does not need a real estate license even though they're receiving money because they're working for themselves. I see Tom who does need a real estate license because he's working for somebody other than himself and getting paid for it. What do y'all think?
Yeah, he needs a license.
I thought I heard somebody say they had a question.
Yeah, it's me. I have a question. It's Kapil.
Okay, Kapil, is that right?
Yeah, it's Kapil.
Couple.
So
Okay.
now if Tom does help them and get $10,000 and without any real estate license, like who is violating the law? Is all three of them violating the law or just Tom?
Just Tom. Great question. Kapil's question was, who's actually violating the license law? It's always the person who's receiving money who should not be receiving the money. So in this case, who's the one that did Connie do anything wrong?
Nope.
No.
Connie's the buyer. She can do whatever she wants to do. Did Mary do anything wrong?
No.
Nope. Mary's the buyer. She do whatever she wants to do. Tom did something wrong. Tom should have said, I can't accept that $1,000 because I don't have a what?
License.
And I could see the argument that maybe somebody might, I didn't mean to cut you off, Kapil. I'll get you in just a second. I could see the argument that somebody might say, well, shouldn't Connie and Mary be researching who they're hiring? I mean, sure, yeah, that's a practical side of it. But here's the thing. Who do these laws apply to?
They apply to the person with the
who
license.
have license.
Yep. Yep.
So it's only going to be for the person who has a license.
Kapil, do we get you? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Like if that is the case in the previous example, if an apartment landlord is giving you a referral benefit, so then they are not liable and you are liable if you're receiving.
It's not. So in the previous question, it's not the apartment owner that violated the law. It's the current tenant who accepted the free rent because they should have said, you know what? I'm not allowed to accept that. I don't have a what? I don't have a real estate license. So folks, do you think it's very possible to violate this law without even realize you're violating the law?
Yes.
Right? Because a lot of times people are just offered money and they're like, bro, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize that they're violating the law. It's actually a crime. It's a misdemeanor.
Mm-hmm. And I also too probably recommend separating the punishment from breaking the law itself, because could this exact scenario have happened today? Sure, absolutely. I mean, it probably happens every single day.
Yep.
But it's a different story to figure out how it's going to get, enforced.
That's exactly right. And we don't really test you on the enforcement of things. We just test you on the law itself.
Right. It's almost like saying like, oh, I saw my neighbor smoking pot outside. I wonder who's going to come and enforce that. Like, well, I mean, it might not get enforced.
Right. That's a different question. So here's the difference between, to use Seth's example. If you see your neighbors outside smoking pot, there's one very easy question to answer. Are they breaking the law? What's the answer to that question? In the state of North Carolina, if you see your neighbors outside smoking pot, are they breaking the law?
Yes.
What do y'all think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an easy answer because it's not legal. They're breaking the law. The more complex question, and thankfully the one we don't have to answer, is, well, are they going to get in trouble for that? I don't know. Right? I don't know.
Being asked.
That's medical use doesn't exist in North Carolina. Yeah.
That's another piece of advice is that I always give, and I will say it all throughout class, is answer the question that they're asking you and not the one that you invented.
Right. Sometimes we try to turn the question into, well, are they going to get in trouble for that? And that's not the question.
That's not what they asked me.
Right. Haley.
Yes, so I actually have an interesting question. What about in like a case of like married couples, like somebody owned a house and then they got married and one of them decided to sell it? The married couple is going to benefit from that.
Do they own the home? The question would be, do they own the home together? Yeah. And that's a question I can't answer. I don't have enough information there. You need to know if they own the home together. The most likely answer is yes, but I can't answer it without knowing the specifics of that situation. See, these are not going to be, it's a great question, but it's a question where you'd have to know the specifics. I'd have to know who owns the property. Is it only owned by one of them? Is it owned by both of them? As to whether or not there was a requirement for a license there.
So for instance, Travis, if we go back to one of those poll questions, I think it was probably the first one. I actually was thinking, and Haley, I appreciate you mentioned this week, but we got to talking and I forgot to mention it. So right here, yeah. So it says Samir does not have a real estate license, purchasing his first home. He gets paid the $12,500 buyer's agent commission. We already decided that he doesn't need a license. So no, it doesn't violate any real estate license law. But I'm glad Haley mentioned this, because also if Zamir was also buying this home for him and his partner, it wouldn't change the answer, even if his partner doesn't have a real estate license, because Zamir is also part of the transaction.
Right.
So just because you introduce the idea of a partner,
right?
Or
so if there's two buyers, does either one of them need a real estate license to get paid, or are they both okay because they're both buyers? What do y'all think?
Totally both okay.
They're both okay. So it's all about what's your involvement to the transaction. Why are you here? And if the answer is, well, I'm here helping other people, you need a what?
A
real estate license if you're going to get paid for being there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know somebody who recently purchased their first home. And at the closing table, they got a check for a little over $10,000 from a builder. Builder was the seller, gave the buyer on their first home purchase a $10,000 check at closing. Did anybody need a real estate license in that situation? Builder is the seller writing a check for $10,000 to buyer that's purchasing the home. Did anybody need a real estate license for that to happen?
No.
No real estate license required.
Because the builder's selling it for themselves.
Maybe the buyer did have a real estate license, but it really doesn't matter. They didn't need one. They weren't required to have one for that to happen. So we really have to focus on this law. And you will certainly see test questions about that. And if you will just kind of slow yourself down. And I love that somebody mentioned about being visual and needing to see the check marks.
That was Taylor.
It was Taylor. And I love that, Taylor. I love doing the check marks. How many check marks do you need to see, folks, before you say, yeah, they need a license? You need to see what?
Three.
Is it somehow real estate related, which is the easy one? Now, it's always going to be real estate related. They're not going to ask you about changing a tire. They're going to be asking you about something related to real estate. That's always going to be a yes. And then the second question is there anything of value being received by that person? Money, gift card, whatever. And then the third question is that person performing that service for themselves or completely for somebody else? And if all three of those are yeses, then that person is most likely going to need a real estate license, right?
Most likely.
So a real estate license in North Carolina is not just a license to get paid. It's a license to get paid for helping others navigate their real estate transactions. Think about like an attorney in a court of law. Somebody doesn't need to be an attorney to speak up for themselves in court. You can represent yourself in court. But if you're going to go into court and speak on behalf of somebody else, you need a what? You need to be a what?
A license.
You need to be an attorney. That's
Right.
exactly right. I mean, let's say, I mean, I've been in court proceedings quite a lot because I serve as an expert witness sometimes, and I feel like I know the right questions to ask. But let's say that James is being sued, and he's like, Trav, you know, you're in court all the time. You come with me, and you speak for me. If I go in that courtroom and I speak up on James' behalf, even if I say all the right things, folks, have I violated the law by pretending to be an attorney by speaking on somebody else's behalf in a court of law? Have I violated the law?
Yes.
Absolutely. Now,
Yep.
do we know what my punishment's going to be? No, because that's not the question we were asked. We were simply asked the question, did he violate the law? And the answer is yes, because James could have spoken for himself, but the minute I start speaking for him and doing it for somebody else, I'm breaking the law if I'm not an attorney. Same rule applies here. We apply this rule to almost every profession in North Carolina, by the way. I have any cosmetologists in here? Hairdressers, barber, anybody that does that kind of work? Nail techs? Anybody got that kind of license in North Carolina?
Christina.
Joy. Yep, several people. Stephanie, Karen. So think about it. If you just cut your neighbor's hair for free, do you need a cosmetologist license or a barber's license in North Carolina to just do that for free?
No.
No. And what's the reason you don't need licensure there? You're not being what?
Paid.
And paid. Do you need a cosmetologist license to do your own hair?
No.
Even if somebody pays you to do your own hair, even if your husband says, "Honey, I give you $50 to cut that shit today," do you need a license to get paid $50 to cut your own hair?
No.
Why not?
Because you're not doing a service.
Doing it
for what?
For
Yourself.
yourself.
It'd be weird to get paid for doing it for yourself, but as long as you're doing it for yourself, you don't need a what?
License.
But if somebody says, "I give you $50 to cut my hair," right there, you need to be a licensed what? Cosmetologist or barber. Because now, y'all see how it's basically the same rule, just in a different profession?
Yeah.
Right? It's same process, just a different profession. And that's the way professional licensing works in North Carolina. Now, in North Carolina, we actually have two different kinds of real estate licenses. Now, a lot of people think those two different kinds of licenses are agents and brokers, but that's not true. The reality is, folks, we don't have anything there's no such thing as a real estate agent in North Carolina. That doesn't exist. We don't have real estate agents in North Carolina. We will use that terminology or not, but it's actually an incorrect terminology. We use it because people expect it. It's what people deal with. I mean, how many of you say all the time, "Oh, I'm a real estate agent," or have heard somebody say, you don't say it because you're not one, have heard somebody say, "I'm a real estate agent," right?
Yeah.
The reality is there's no such thing as a real estate agent in North Carolina. There are real estate brokers in North Carolina. One of your fellow students in this class sent an email today and said, "I think I'm in the wrong class. I just wanted to be an agent. I didn't want to be a broker." And I'm like, you know what? That's a common misconception. But in North Carolina, there's no such thing as a what?
Agent.
As a real estate agent. If you are a human and you have a pulse, you're breathing, and you want to have a real estate license in North Carolina, the only option is to be a real estate broker. That doesn't mean that's the only type of real estate license. There is another type of real estate license for things that are not human. Well,
like AI.
Like AI. No, we're not talking about AI, actually. What we're talking about are companies, right? What we're talking about are companies. Laurent just asked a great question. Do other states use agent, or this only applies to North Carolina? Everything in Unit 1 is specific to what state, folks?
North Carolina.
Carolina. So everything in Unit 1, PD Pablo unit. Everything is for us in Unit 1. It's all North Carolina specific. This is our license law. This is how it works here. And it's not how it works in Virginia, as an example. In Virginia, they have real estate agents and they have real estate brokers. We don't have that. We don't have that. If you are a human and in the state of North Carolina and you want a real estate license, what kind of real estate license do you want?
Broker.
A real estate broker. If you are a company, and you can't be a company because companies aren't people, but if a company in real estate in North Carolina wants a real estate license, what kind of license does that company need?
A firm license.
Real estate firm license. Why does Travis Everette have a real estate broker license, but Trav Talks LLC have a real estate firm license? What makes the difference between the two things?
You're a person and the LLC is a company.
I'm a person. I'm a human. So
Right.
therefore, if I want to receive money for helping others with real estate transactions, I, the human, needs a what?
Real estate license.
Real estate license.
Real estate
broker
license. We're going to add a little bit more detail. Not just real estate license, but real estate what? Broker license. Right? And Tashara said, even if it's a sole proprietor, if it's a human, and I is human, I have feelings too. I'm a human, and I want to be paid for helping others with real estate. Therefore, I need a what kind of license? Not just a real estate license, but specifically a what?
A broker's license.
Broker's license. I need a broker's license. I are a person. I'm not a company. See, here's the other thing, Seth, and I know what's getting in people's way. They're like, but you got a company. You own a company.
That's a different scenario.
Here's the thing, though, folks. Am I the company, or are we two separate things? You have me, the person, and then you have what?
The company.
It doesn't matter that I own the company. In fact, the whole reason I created a company was to keep it what? Separate. Do I want my personal business to be my company business, or did I want them two separate things?
Two separate things.
Two separate things. Did I want my personal taxes to...
I was just going to say the reason being, because a lot of times people start to answer the question that wasn't asked. The reason being is for personal reasons, So
That's
don't
exactly
go
right.
from that line. Just focus on what is going on here.
I personally decided I want my personal business separate from my company business. So I created a company that I own called Trav Talks LLC. But here's the thing. The same rule applies. The same rule applies to companies as people. Is Trav Talks LLC being paid for providing real estate services to others? What do y'all think?
Yes.
Here's how you know it is. You paid Trav Talks LLC. How many of y'all paid money to Trav Talks LLC? Right? Trav Talks LLC received money for providing what kind of services?
Real estate
related services. And it's providing those services to all of you who are others. So does the rule say that company needs a real estate license? What do y'all think?
Yes.
It does. And here's the thing. You can't give a company a broker license because the company's not a human. So what kind of license do you give to a real estate company?
Firm
license. Is that distinction helping everybody? Right?
Yes.
So for your purposes, moving forward, there's going to be a dead giveaway when a firm license is required for a company. If you have a company that is a partnership and is receiving money for real estate services for others, then it needs a what?
Firm license.
Firm license.
Good
If you
job.
see a company that is an LLC, which stands for Limited Liability Company, and it is receiving compensation for real estate activities for others, that's a real estate what?
That's a real estate.
It's a real estate firm.
It needs a firm license.
If you see a corporation, which is usually abbreviated INC. INC means corporation. That's receiving money for real estate services for others, that corporation needs to be a real estate what?
Firm.
So let's just walk through it. Trav Talks LLC, you paid them $465 for a real estate service. and it's providing you with a real estate service, does that require licensure for Trav Talks LLC? It's providing real estate services to you who's somebody else. That requires licensure. Well, here's the thing. Trav Talks LLC is not a person. Trav Talks LLC is a company. So what kind of license does it require?
A firm license.
It requires a firm license. That's exactly right.
So also too, so Sam asked a really good question here, and the answer to it is yes. It's going along with the same kind of idea that you're explaining here now, Travis. So it says, so if someone gets licensed with the broker license and then creates a firm, then they need both licenses. Well, the answer to your question is yes, because I understand what you're asking, but I do want to be very particular in how you're asking this question. So the answer would be the broker needs the broker's license, or the person needs the broker's license, and the firm itself needs the firm license. So I don't want to say they need both licenses. I would say the person needs the broker's license and the company needs the firm license, because they are two separate things.
I love that. I love that you point that out, Seth. I'm going to ask it in a personal way. Does Travis need both a broker license and a firm license?
Yes.
Be careful with how you answer that.
No, because Travis is a person. He's not a firm.
Travis can't get one of those because Travis is a person. Travis needs a what?
A broker license.
Broker license. Does Trav Talks LLC need both a broker license and a firm license?
No.
LLC can't have a broker license because it's a company. Trav Talks LLC needs a what?
Firm
license. See, it's what Seth is pointing out there is it's not a matter of Travis needing two licenses. It's a matter of Travis needing a license and Travis's company needing a separate license called a what?
A firm license.
Firm license. And so we gotta be really particular in how we say that, because, you know, the details do matter in this class. That's what makes you a good real estate agent. But also too, so Laurent and also Corbin are asking both really, really good questions. And there was another question that I answered a little similarly up in the chat, but I do know the chat gets really flooded, so it's okay if you missed it. But so Laurent asked, and who will be taking the state exam for a firm, LLC, corporation, the owner, or just curious? And then also Corbin said, so there can't be a licensed firm without a licensed sole proprietor. Those are really good questions, but I am going to halt you on that. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to kind of mention to everybody in the class, you know, there are going to be questions that you're going to come up in your head, and we like to call them rabbit trails. Not saying that they're not good questions, because they are really good questions. But the way that we do teach our classes is we give you enough information as necessary in the moment, enough to not confuse you. So those
we just give them a taste, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
we don't give them the whole meal.
Taste of the information.
Right, taste.
So, but the answers to y'all's questions will come up in Unit 1.3. We're not going to answer them just yet. But if you do get the itching to know for it tonight, you can go and watch that video.
You can work ahead, but that's the answer is detailed, right? The
Very
answer is
detailed, and it will just it will trigger more questions after that and more. So we got to stay focused.
Confusing. So here's the thing. Right now, all we're focused on is the differentiation between humans that need real estate license need what?
Brokers.
Licenses. And companies, and there are three types of companies. What are the three types of companies?
Partnership,
corporation,
and incorporation.
Right? Corporation.
And
Right?
those need
Firm
licenses.
And that's all we really got to focus on for right now. We really just got to focus on the difference between who and what needs a broker's license and firm license. All the other details, promise you, will come shortly, but it will add a little bit of complexity to it, and it will probably confuse you. So let's focus on that.
Seth Thomas receives $6,000 for helping a buyer purchase a home.
Who? Who does?
Seth Thomas receives $5,000 for helping a buyer purchase a home. License required?
Yes.
Yes. What kind of license?
A broker's
license.
Trav Talks LLC receives $465 for teaching Ashley the pre-licensing class. Real estate license required?
Yes.
What kind of real estate license?
Firm
license. See how simplified that makes that, folks, right? You answer the first question first, which is, does it require a license at all? And then once you decide, okay, yeah, it requires a license, you go back to, okay, was this a person or is this a company? If it's a person, it needs a what?
Firm license.
A broker
No, it's a
license.
broker's
Person needs a
license.
broker license.
License.
And if it's a company, LLC, partnership, or incorporation, it needs a
Firm
Firm
license.
firm license. Y'all give me a thumbs up if that's clicking a little bit for you now. How's that feel?
Good.
Right?
If you
Yep.
have any questions, let us know. But it is very basic, very simple right now. We will
Yep.
add complexity to it later.
We will. And what we're going to do for the rest of tonight, and honestly, not just for the rest of tonight, but for tomorrow night as well, is we're going to focus on the brokers first, because you're all here to get what kind of license? None of you are here to receive a firm license. You don't own companies yet. You're all here to get a broker's license, right?
license.
So we got to
Absolutely.
start with the building blocks of getting a broker's license, and that's what
We
we're
will
going to
talk
do.
all about firm license. How do you get them? Who can get
Yep.
them? All that in Unit 1.3.
Absolutely. What we're going to do right now is take our first break, though. Okay. And here's how we like to
Yeah,
handle
y'all.
breaks in our evening class. I know a lot of you are coming straight from work and you haven't had time for dinner, and I'm one of you who hasn't had time for dinner yet. So we usually like to take about a 20 or 25-minute break, kind of a longish one, as the first one to give you time to eat. So I've got 7:30. Why don't we come back at 7:55? Okay. And then any other break we take will only be like the 10-minute go use the bathroom variety. But we do take a little bit of a longer one for the first one, just so you got time to get something to eat and get settled back in. So take till 7:55. That's 24 minutes from right now. And then we will reconvene and start focusing in on that broker. How was your break?
Back.
Oh, wait a minute. They can't talk again. Okay, now they can talk. I don't know why you keep muting them, Seth. Damn.
Just gotta keep things around here tight. Why are you blaming me?
Because
It
you
was
did
not
it.
me.
It's your
It
fault,
was not
right?
me.
It was not you? You like
No.
Shaggy? It wasn't me?
Right.
Okay.
Oh no, not really.
You look like you got a little sun during the break, Seth. Have you
Really?
been sunning?
Seth is just glowing.
Yeah, right. He's like all
Kind.
glowy
It
over
looks-
there.
I appreciate it.
Whatever
did
you're using,
You've
Seth.
been
is
in
just-
this-
hairstyle. I
You've been in the sun, or you just like, did you just go to like the tanning booth type thing, get painted?
Maybe it's just the lighting. I don't know.
Oh, maybe it's just okay. All right. We're just checking. Make sure you
Looks like you might have caught more sun than I did.
Well, I definitely have gotten the sun this summer. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope everybody had a good break. He is always glowing, Candace. Yes, that is very true. Did anybody eat anything good? Well, what was good for dinner?
Yeah, some barbecue ribs.
Yum.
Some barbecue ribs. Who cooked at your house, Shaq?
Me?
Oh, you cooked for yourself. Okay.
I love it.
All right. I don't know who ProPad is, but they had I don't know what they had, Seth, because they had P&J. I don't know if that's meant to be peanut butter and jelly and they left the B out, or if they had PJ out of a bathtub like we used to have at the parties back in the day. I don't. Did they have party juice? Is that what they had? I don't know.
PB and J.
Maybe they had a purple drink. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they're drinking over there. Wait a minute, Miles. Wait a minute now. Miles is gonna be asleep.
Like Thanksgiving?
Miles is gonna be asleep in 5 minutes. Miles had mac and cheese, pork chops, collard greens, and black-eyed peas.
Okay, man.
And I cooked every bit of it.
Wait a minute now. Miles, 3 people
Period.
just wanted to know if you were taking applications for marriage. Right then.
Sorry,
And,
no. That position's already filled.
Ooh, okay. That's
he
wonderful.
said taken. He said taken. Okay. All right. Somebody want to know if you needed a backup offer. I don't know what that means, but I don't know what that means, Miles.
Just in case.
Bella made chicken parm. Jaren had a spicy salmon bowl. That sounds good. That sounds good too.
Nice.
Wait a minute. Jadera had rice, butter beans, and turkey necks. Wait a minute now. next thing I know, somebody's going to be breaking out oxtails in this class. What kind of class we got going on here? Y'all are having some heavy meals here for a night class. So, Candace had baked spaghetti. Is it the kind they used to have at the K&W, Candace? Is it that kind of baked spaghetti? Like, you used to go through the line at the cafeteria and get?
No, I put a little extra stuff in.
Oh, you put some extra stuff in it.
I make mine with like whipped cream, sausage, and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you definitely do a little extra. And Stephanie did have oxtail. See, I knew somebody was going to come up with it, Seth. This class knows how to eat, apparently.
I've never had that.
Seth, you've never had an oxtail. So I'm not surprised you never had oxtail, Seth. And that
I'm not opposed to it though.
Really?
It's so good. It's so good. And my boyfriend's from Trinidad and grew up in Grenada, so it's amazing.
See, Seth's favorite is Seth loves stuff like souse and pork brains and eggs. That's his favorite. He loves that kind of stuff.
No, I'm actually from the South, but no, that's not my thing. I'm from here.
All right. So we said when we took our break that we were going to come back and focus on this broker license. And that's going to be our focus for the rest of Unit 1.1 and then throughout Unit 1.2. As Seth mentioned, we will, kind of circle back to the firm licensure part as we get into Unit 1.3. But for brokers, to become a broker in North Carolina, the qualifications are pretty straightforward. In order to even be considered for licensure, you got to be at least 18 years old at the time you take the license exam. Now, you don't have to be 18 years old to actually take this class. You have to be 18 years old at the time you submit your license application to the Real Estate Commission. We have had 17-year-olds take the class and be successful before. So there's nothing that says somebody
Is anybody in here?
Yeah, do we have anybody under 18 in class? Do we have any of the Head Start people? Jadera said no. Jadera's answering for everybody. Like, no.
I'm just curious because we actually had somebody reach out that they were interested, but they were like, when can I take the class? And you can actually take the class now. You just have to wait till you're 18 to take the exam.
Jaren is 19.
Jaren's 19, so you are close enough for sure.
Yeah, that's close enough for sure. So you got to be at least 18 years old to apply for licensure, and you have to have legal status. You can be a citizen, a permanent resident, have a valid work visa, but some type of legal status. In addition, obviously, you have to successfully complete this class. So let's talk about that for just a second. Completing this class successfully does not mean simply being here. Completing the class successfully means completing the work in the class. So that all those things that you see in Learn Test Pass, like quizzes, for example, or worksheets, if it says quiz or it says a midterm exam or it says worksheet, that work is required of you. And then a minimum passing score on a final exam. Sometimes we get people who say, well, I finished the class. Did you pass the exam? Then you didn't finish the class. So I want to be clear with everybody. Completing this class involves passing the end of course exam. Now, that's not our rule. That's the Real Estate Commission's rule. And the minimum passing score is also the Real Estate Commission's rule. I try not to get annoyed when people ask for exceptions to things. But one thing that will annoy me, I'm just going to tell you, is when you ask me to break a Real Estate Commission rule. Because what you're asking me to do is put my license in jeopardy, and I'm not going to do that for you. So when we tell you that the 75% minimum score on both sections of the final exam, so there's a North Carolina section or sort of a generic national section, when we tell you that the minimum passing score is 75% on each section, don't ask me, well, I got a 73.6. Can you let me pass? What is the answer going to be in advance, folks? I mean, just go ahead and answer it for yourself. What's the answer going to be?
No.
I mean, it's going to be, and if you didn't believe him, you maybe believe him.
Hell no!
No, it's a no. 75% on the national section and 75% on the North Carolina section. So I saw a question in there. Someone asked a question, do you need to take this class multiple times if you fail the exam? And the answer is yes, because again, you have not completed the course according to the Real Estate Commission until you've done the course time, done the course work, and passed the end of course exam. Right? You can't just continue taking the end of course exam. You get 2 opportunities to pass the end of course exam. If you don't pass, by Real Estate Commission rule, you have to retake the course. Is everybody with me on that? Okay.
Yes.
And again, we have to operate under the Real Estate Commission's rules. We don't get to make our own rules when it comes to what the minimums are. We could make you do more, right? So Muhammad said, how many attempts we have? Again, how many attempts do you get to pass the class exam, folks? How many attempts are there? By rule. 2 attempts, right? There are 2 exams. They're completely separate exams. Each exam has 2 sections, and you have to pass each section individually. So when you take exam 1, you will see a national section, which you have to score 75% on, and then you have to score 75% on the North Carolina section. When you take exam 2, you'll see the same thing. To pass the course, you don't have to pass exam 1 and exam 2, but you have to pass the North Carolina section and the national section on one of those 2 exams. Is everybody with me on that? Everybody good with that? Okay. Alfonso asked, is the class exam the same thing as the state exam? No. There is an end of course exam. You cannot even submit your application to the Real Estate Commission until you have successfully completed the course, which includes the end of course exam. Is everybody
Right.
with me on that?
I believe
right?
we actually explained this in the welcome email, or you do, Travis. It's actually really good information for understanding how the process works and breaks down. So if you do have questions about that, I would.
You've got a video and Learn Does Pass. It's all about it.
Really recommend watching it.
But yes, completing the course is what it takes to get to the point of submitting an application to the Real Estate Commission, and that includes passing the end of course exam. You cannot apply to the Real Estate Commission without passing the end of course exam first. Leslie.
Just be clear. You have like 2 chances to make the test.
Correct. You get 2 opportunities. There are 2 end of course exams, 2 opportunities. If you are successful on one of those 2, then you've passed the course. If you're not successful on either of those 2, then you have not passed the course. Okay. All right. And it is pass or fail. That's the way licensure is. I mean, yeah, we would love for you to get 95%, but the passing score is what? 75%. Now, and that's not 75% average together between the national and the state. The national is scored. You got to get 75% on it. The state is scored. The North Carolina section is scored. You got to get 75% on it. So 2 sections, you got to pass each one with a minimum score of 75%. Okay. Don't worry about what happens after the end of the course. That's where your brain runs away with you, and you got to know all those things. I mean, obviously, we want to focus on getting you through the class right now and having you be successful this time. Whether this is the first time you've taken the class or whether you've taken the class somewhere else, that you want to focus on this. Yes, you will know your score as soon as you finish. We're not trying to hide it from you. You'll know exactly what you scored as soon as you finish. It's an instant thing. That's always the case with any real estate exam. When you take the licensing exam, when you go on to take the licensing exam after you finish this class, you know your results instantly. You never wait for results. So what you need to understand is that completing this course is required before you can even send an application. So if you send us an email at the end of the class that say, I'm trying to submit my application to the Real Estate Commission, and you didn't pass the class exam, what are we going to tell you? What are we going to say to you if you say, I'm trying to put my application and it won't let me put my application in? What are we going to tell you?
Get back in class.
Get back in class, right? Because you cannot submit an application to the Real Estate Commission. The Real Estate Commission is not going to let you apply until Seth tells them you can apply. And he's not going to tell them you can apply until you've passed our class. That's the way the rules work.
So, also too, somebody said, how soon should we purchase the class to get the discounted rate if you fail? So one thing to learn about us is that we are really laid back and we are not going to be sticklers about making sure you get back in at a certain time. You can take advantage of that retake discount at any time.
Yep.
There is no expiration on it. So if you feel like you need to take a couple months off, don't feel like you're rushed to get back into it. We are very easygoing people here.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And obviously, we hope you don't need that. But if you do, it's there for you, and it's not going to cost you a lot to retake if necessary. And there's no shame, by the way, in retaking this course. Some of the absolute best real estate brokers I know have taken this course 3 or 4 times. This is the hardest state in the country to obtain a real estate license. You talk to anybody who's taken this here and somewhere else, and they will tell you that this is intense compared to other states. This is a difficult license to obtain. Doesn't mean you can't do it. You can. It just means you have to dedicate yourself to it and you have to work along with the process. Erica?
Hey, Travis. So I'm just curious, or if you could state it from our last class, how many people actually passed the class? Or if y'all have the statistics
I don't
yet.
remember off the top of my head, but I can tell you this: the percentages are usually about the same class to class. In night classes, it's usually about 60 to 65%. So about 2/3 of the class pass the class, and about 1/3 doesn't. That's usually where the numbers are. And of that third, there are always a bunch that are close, and then there are a bunch that just aren't close at all. But usually about 2/3 will pass. Now, of those who pass our class, we have about a 92% first-time test taker pass rate with the Real Estate Commission. So when you pass our class, you're ready. You're ready. Which is good because when you take their test, you have to pay for it every time, and you don't know what you got wrong. You don't know what you need to work on. It's just you failed. And so you don't want to go to the state exam until you're ready. You really don't. So let's talk about this broker licensure, okay? Broker licensure for people first requires that you be doing something related to real estate. Now, we said this is going to be the easy part of deciding if somebody needs a license. Real estate activities are pretty much anything that applies to real estate. Selling a house, is that a real estate activity, folks? Does it apply to, what do y'all think?
Yes.
Renting an apartment, is that a real estate activity?
Yes.
Putting a home on the market, is that a real estate activity?
Yes.
Absolutely. Referring somebody to a real estate broker so that they can buy a shopping center, is that a real estate activity?
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, does that mean all those things require a real estate license all the time, or does that mean that those are things that might require a license? What do y'all think? Those are things that might require a license. And the reason you have to say might is because just performing a real estate activity is not enough. You also have to be getting what for your services?
Compensated.
Compensated. And you have to be working for who in order to be required? For others. That's exactly right. So here's the thing. If I'm working for myself, I can stop right there. So if I'm buying a property, do I need to keep checking, or am I good to go with no license? What do y'all think?
You're good to go.
You're good to go.
Good to go. I'm going to ask that again. If I'm buying a property for myself, am I ever going to need a license? No matter what else is true, am I ever going to need a license for that?
No. You're good to go.
So, Saba is buying a home for herself. She has a real estate broker representing her. The real estate broker gets paid $10,000 and gives $2,000 to Saba. I'm going to give it to you again. Saba is buying a home. She has a real estate broker representing her. The real estate broker gets paid $10,000 in the transaction and gives Saba $2,000 out of that. Does Saba need a real estate license?
No,
absolutely not, because she is what?
doing it for herself.
The buyer, she's helping herself. That's exactly right. It's her transaction. So I want you to remember, buyers never need a what?
A real estate license.
How about sellers? Do sellers ever need a real estate license in North Carolina?
No.
No. So if you're sitting there trying to figure out if the buyer or the seller needs a real estate license, I can save you the trouble. The answer is what?
No.
Always no.
They do not. No matter what the situation is, there is not a situation you can invent in the state of North Carolina where a buyer will ever need a real estate license. Does everybody hear me on that?
Right.
Yeah.
There is no circumstance under which a seller will ever need a real estate license in North Carolina. You cannot come up with a situation where that would be the case. So if you're on a test and they try to come up with this convoluted, complicated ass scenario, but they're asking you about the person buying the property, what's your answer?
No.
No license. No license. Okay. So I think you can stick with some things like that in your head. If I'm working for myself, if I'm the buyer, if I'm the seller, if I'm the landlord, or if I'm the tenant, and it's my transaction and I'm the one signing all that paperwork, I don't need a what?
License.
I don't need a real estate license. What about if I'm getting paid?
You don't need it.
What about if I'm getting paid, but I'm the buyer, or I'm the seller, or I'm the one signing all the
license.
Still no
license
license.
needed.
Still no. Is everybody with me on that?
Yeah.
Right? Still no license because I'm working for myself in those cases. Now, here's where people do hang themselves up and they make it overly complicated. Folks, I don't care if the compensation is $5 million, $5,000, or $5. If it has value, is it compensation?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. See, we've got people out here in this business, real estate brokers, who think it's perfectly acceptable. I'm going to give you a scenario and you tell me if this is okay or not. Okay? So let's say that Miles has his real estate license. And his former client, Ingrid, gives his name to her friend. Y'all with me on what's going on here? So Miles is a real estate broker. He's got his license. Ingrid does not have her real estate license. She's his former client, and Miles did such a good job for her that she recommends her friend use Miles as well when they buy a house. Does that happen all the time, by the way? What do y'all think? Do people recommend their agent because their agent did a good job for them? What do y'all think?
Yes.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But when the transaction closes, Miles sends Ingrid a little thank you card with a $25 Starbucks gift card in there. Ingrid, thank you so much for recommending your friend Ariana to me. She was a dream to work with. Have coffee on me this week for work. We got a problem, or is that okay?
We got a problem.
We got a problem because now Ingrid, who does not have a real estate license, didn't she just get paid for that referral, folks? Didn't she just get paid for referring her friend to a real estate broker? Right?
Yeah.
See, that's a problem. Does the amount, and I know people will say, that happens all the time. Yes, it does. I'm going to tell you something else that happens all the time. Now, I'm not expecting you to out yourself right here. Listen, I just want to be clear about this. But I guarantee you somebody violated the law during that 25-minute break in this class. I ain't trying to call you out. I ain't trying to put you on blast. But I guarantee you somebody done went and smoked up during that break on class. Does that mean it's not against the law because they did it? Or is it still against the law? What do y'all think? It's still against the law. Did somebody do it? Yes. Right? But it doesn't mean it's not against the law. Just because something happens a lot doesn't mean it's not. Tina said, is it medical? I keep telling y'all medical ain't legal in North Carolina either. Don't be telling that officer you got the cataracts. It ain't going to help. It ain't going to help you. Right? It's not going to help at all unless you're in Cherokee. I think that's the one place, right? Right? Because you're on the reservation. Right. Not that I'm advising you to do that. I'm just saying. Okay. So when we talk about whether or not somebody needs a broker's license, what we're really looking at, and the way I like to think about it, is kind of this visual of like a stool with 3 legs. If I take out one of the legs, it's going to fall over. So if somebody's doing a real estate service but not being paid, I take out one of the legs of the stool, what happens?
Follow.
It falls. They don't need a license. Right. If somebody's doing a real estate transaction and being paid but doing the work for themselves and only for themselves, I take away a leg, what happens to the stool? It falls, and no license required. But if I go through there and I'm like, okay, is this person doing some type of a real estate related activity? Is this person being paid in some way? And is this person doing that work for other people? And if all of those are yeses, and if that stool's still standing up, they need a what?
A real estate license.
License. And if they are a person specifically, I heard somebody say it, if they are a person specifically, what kind of license?
A real estate license.
Real estate broker license. Is that? Give me a thumbs up if that's making sense for you now, right? So we want to go through some examples and some situations, hypothetical situations, and talk about whether or not you think licensure is required. And I want to caution you. And I think it was, Seth, you said it was Taylor earlier who said they like the visual, right? Was that right? Yeah. So Taylor's exactly right. I want to caution you here. Don't try to jump to an answer so fast without going through the whole process, without asking yourself, okay, is this person performing some type of a real estate service? Is this person being compensated in some way? And is this person doing that service, that work, for people other than themselves? So it says Juliana finds out that her best friend is interested in purchasing a new home and puts her friend into contact with an active real estate broker named Jane in Greensboro, who will represent the friend in the purchase. Upon closing, Greensboro broker Jane sends Juliana a $200 Amazon gift card. Does this require licensure for Juliana? So first thing we got to do is look at who we're focusing on. As a matter of fact, let's learn a test-taking strategy right out of the gate. When you see a long paragraph like this, I'm going to challenge you to read the last sentence first. Why do you think I want you to read the last sentence first? Because that's where the what is.
It's
That's where the question is, right? That's where the question is. And so that's going to help you focus in. So let's do it the way we should have done it the first way. Does this require licensure for Juliana? So now who are we going to focus on? Juliana, right? Because that's who the question's about. I can ignore all that shit about Jane. I don't care about Jane or John or anybody else. Who I care about? Juliana, right? And Alexis is right. We don't want you to get lost in the fluff. So it says, does this require licensure for Juliana? So Juliana finds out that her best friend is interested in purchasing a new home. So who's purchasing the home here? Is it Juliana purchasing the home, or is it her best friend that's purchasing the home?
Her best friend.
Her friend, right? Yeah. Her friend. So Juliana finds out that her friend is interested in purchasing a home. And Juliana puts her friend into contact with an active real estate broker. So has Juliana performed a real estate activity by putting her friend into contact with a broker?
Yes,
do we have an activity?
Yes.
Okay. There's a real estate activity right there. Is that real estate activity being done for herself or for others? She's putting her friend into contact with a real estate broker. That sounds like it's for others to me. Right? That sounds like you helping other people. Y'all with me? Right? Mm-hmm. She's helping her friend. Mm-hmm. And then it goes on to say that Jane ends up representing the friend, and then after closing, Jane sends Juliana a $200 Amazon gift card. So again, focusing on Juliana, is Juliana receiving compensation, something that has value?
Yes.
Well, that looks like three legs of a stool to me, folks. What do y'all think?
Yeah, so she needs a broker's license.
This requires a broker's license, right?
Yep.
Is there anybody that's confusing for, or does that kind of start to click in a little bit when you work your way through it now?
It makes sense, but I think I'm still shocked that a referral is the act of real estate.
Right, it's kind of shocking it's kind of shocking, right? And then Terry Lindsay, but the tricky part is she didn't ask for it, and that's the key. The rule doesn't say you have to ask for it. The rule doesn't say you have to solicit it. The rule says that if you accept it and you're doing that real estate work for others, you need what?
A real estate license.
So think about it. Think about it this way. I want you to think about the other kind of license that a lot of you have, like a driver's license. If somebody throws you keys to a car and says you drive, and you know you don't have no driver's license, whose responsibility is it to speak up? Is it the person who threw you the keys that's about to break the law, or is it you who doesn't have a driver's license but gets behind the wheel and drives it anyway? What do you think? It's you, right? And so when this $200 Amazon gift card gets sent, whether we like it or not, whose responsibility is it to send it back and say, I don't have a real estate license, so I can't accept this?
Juliana.
Does that make sense for everybody now? Right? It's the person who doesn't have the license that's receiving the money. It's their job to say, I don't have this license. I can't do that. It's nice of you. I appreciate it, but I can't take this. Okay? All right? So take a look at this one. What did I say we were going to do? What's our strategy? Read what?
Last question.
Find the question. Go to the end. Let's narrow this down a little bit, okay? So look at the end. Question's always right there. Does this require Betsy to be licensed? So now that we read this, we're probably going to get a bunch of names, but who are we going to focus on?
Betsy.
Focus on Betsy. Do we care about anybody else?
No.
So it says Betsy buyer. Now let me tell you something. When they call somebody the buyer, that means they are what?
The buyer.
That doesn't just mean her name is buyer. That means she is the buyer. If they say if they make a Sam Seller, that doesn't mean his last name is Seller. That means he is the what?
The seller.
Seller, right? Okay. So Betsy is the what here?
The buyer.
The buyer.
Okay. So it says Betsy buyer is in the market to purchase a new house in Durham for her. As a matter of fact, do I need to read any further, folks?
No.
I only stand to confuse myself by reading the rest of this, don't I?
Yes.
Yes.
Who they gonna ask me about? Betsy. And Betsy is the what? Buyer. Well, I already know the answer to that question. What is the answer to that question? Betsy don't need no license.
Right.
No license. Because the rest of that mess is only going to be designed to confuse me. Y'all see how reading that question first helps you out here, folks?
Absolutely.
Right? Does Betsy need a license? Betsy's the buyer. Betsy don't need no license. No matter what happens. Now, we can read the rest of it. It says she's purchasing a house in Durham for herself and her family. She's decided she will not be represented by a buyer's agent, but wishes instead to be paid the buyer agent commission on the house she's buying from Sam the seller. Well, she can be paid that commission. She can represent herself. She can work for herself. She can get paid. But because she's the buyer, she doesn't what?
Need a license.
Doesn't need a license.
How about if the question had been, does this require Sam to be licensed? And then we read that Sam is the seller. That would also be what?
The answer would be no.
No, because buyers and sellers don't need licenses. Y'all like that? Right? You don't have to read the whole thing. I don't even
Those are
have to
pretty
read
good,
them.
straightforward questions. But if you guys have any questions about them, let us know, because it's
Absolutely.
only going to add detail from here.
Right, because we are going to get more complex situations, and we want to make sure, is everybody feeling okay with where we are so far with applying the rule?
Seriously, if you do have a question, please feel free to speak up, because this is the foundational stuff that you do need to get. And take advantage of your time. You paid for this time, so if you don't have a good understanding, now is the time to get it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, in fact, why don't we do this, Seth? If you don't mind capturing this when I launch it, right? Okay. I'm going to launch a question that it really is going to test them a little bit more. This is what a test question would look like for you folks. Okay. Because it's got 4 multiple choice answers. Okay. I always want to go to the end first, and this one's not going to help me a lot. It says, which is true. Okay. So now I got to read the whole thing, but I still going to practice my little test taking strategy. I want to know what's true of this situation. It says Bob the broker. Well, if it says Bob broker, he's already got a what?
License.
He's already got a license. So we know we're not going to be asking about, like, does Bob need a license? Because Bob's already what?
A broker.
He's already a broker.
Bob already got a license. Okay. It says is representing a buyer client in the purchase of a home and agrees to share $6,000 of the compensation in the transaction with the unlicensed buyer. Well, does the buyer need a real estate license for that, folks?
No,
because the buyer never needs a real estate license, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's read the answer choices. Bob may be disciplined by the Real Estate Commission for this license law violation. Okay, so choose that if you think this is a violation. B, the buyer must obtain licensure before receiving this payment. C, Bob is allowed to do this under Real Estate Commission rules. Or D, the seller would need to agree to this arrangement. What y'all think, applying what you've learned, because this is a difficult question right here, folks. Got
Bob is allowed to do this.
About 60 of you have answered, about 70 of you now. All right, let's talk about it as the last few filter in. A, Bob may be disciplined by the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. Well, that's true if there's a violation. Is there a violation here, folks?
No.
So do we like A or do we want to get rid of it?
Want to get rid of it.
Get rid of it. And that's going to be another strategy you need to adopt really early in this class. I'm not looking for a right answer. I'm looking for 3 to get rid of. That's what I'm always looking for. 3 to get rid of. And I don't like A because I don't see a violation. So what are we going to discipline him for? He didn't do nothing wrong, right? B, the buyer must obtain licensure before receiving this payment. Well, what do we say about buyers needing a license?
They don't need
They don't need a license. So I can get rid of that, right? C, Bob is allowed to do this under Real Estate Commission rules. Well, he's giving money to somebody who's part of the transaction. I don't see anything wrong with that. Do y'all?
Yes, it's allowed. Yes, he's allowed.
So it seems like that one's all right to me, so I'm gonna leave it alone. And then D, the seller would need to agree to this arrangement. What's the seller got to do with it?
Nothing. Have nothing to do with it.
No.
It's Bob's money, and Bob wants to give it to the buyer. Can the buyer get money from Bob?
Right.
Yeah, the buyer can get money from anybody. So
delete that.
I like C. I like C. And almost 90% of y'all got that question right, folks. I'm gonna tell you, that is a difficult question. That's a difficult question. Yeah.
But y'all did really good on it.
But you did really well on it. So do we have questions about that? Do we feel okay? I mean, obviously, I like that 90% of you got it right. But if anybody's got a question, please let us know. Because that's what we're here for. Like Seth mentioned, what you're paying for is the get your questions answered, right? To get this settled for yourself. How we feel?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Okay, Shaq, go ahead.
Why would, of course, like you said, it's his money and he can do whatever he wants, but why would he give the buyer?
So let me answer this in my own way. We took our family on a cruise last week. My in-laws, my parents, my brother-in-law, the whole 12 of us. We took them all on a cruise. Well, we took 8 of them on a cruise. 4 of them paid for themselves. But we were on the sun deck. And this lady, a very young lady, very scantily clad, got down in the pool. And she was one of them that gets everybody's attention. And she immediately draped herself on this very ancient, old man in that pool. Now, everybody in the pool asked themselves the same question. What the hell is she doing with him? But at the end of the day, is that any of our business, folks?
Nope.
Is it? And no. Shaq, I know why you want to ask the question, but is it any of your business why Bob wants to give this money to that buyer? Nope. No. And that's not the question that was asked. The question was, can he if he wants to? And what's the answer?
Yes.
Yes. Right? And here's why I make that point, Shaq. Because they're going to ask you a lot of things to make you question the why behind something, right? And it's not our job to question why people want to do things. It's our job to question whether they are allowed to or not. And so this question, I don't know. Maybe Bob is the cousin of the buyer and wants to help him out. Maybe Bob made a mistake in the transaction. He's trying to make it up to his client. Maybe Bob just does this as a way of generating business. Maybe he says to buyers, hey, if you hire me, I'll give you a rebate on your commission. I don't know the reason, but I know he's allowed.
Okay, because that's one of the things that gets me caught up with questions. I'm always thinking, okay, well, why would that person do that?
That's right. That's right.
Well, and you're not the only one
You're
who
not the
thinks
only
like
one.
that. Like I know, like a lot of students do. One of my friends took the class, and she was always saying, like, that don't even make any sense. Like, why are they doing that? I was like, girl, you really got to put that thinking to rest, because the questions are designed to make you think like that, and you're like, I don't even care what y'all are trying to do. I'm gonna just answer what you asked me.
That's exactly what it is. Because just like me in that pool, I'd be like, you know what? That's none of my business. Let them do their thing. Ain't bothering me. Right.
And I feel like it's great practice, because even when we out in the real world and we have different clients, if they be like, I want to do X, Y, and Z, that's none of our business on why.
Well, that's exactly right. And let me tell you something, Ariana. You may get this question as a broker, and you have to be careful to answer in the correct way. If a buyer comes to you and says, well, I'd like you to be my agent, but I'll only hire you if you'll give me half the commission. Everybody hear what I just said? I want you to be my agent, but I'll only hire you if you give me half the commission. And that broker says to that buyer, I can't do that. That's against the law. Have they answered truthfully, folks, or have they committed a violation by lying to that person about what the law actually is in North Carolina? What do y'all think? There's a violation right there. That's called a misrepresentation. They lied. That's not what the law says. So what's a better answer? Well, while that might be legal, that's not my business practice, so I won't be willing to do that. Would that be an okay answer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
You can't make up a lie and say the real estate commission don't let me do that, because let me tell you what's going to happen. That buyer's going to call the real estate commission and say, well, Ariana told me she couldn't share the commission with me if I was her buyer client, because that's against the law. You're going to be getting a call from the real estate commission and say, you told them what? Because that is not the law.
Your name will be in that bulletin.
Right, exactly. Your name's going to show up in the slammer. You don't want that, right?
And so Ashley said, just to be clear, it doesn't matter if Bob is related to the buyer client. No.
Nope. Not
it
at all.
doesn't change the answer.
Yeah, the relationship doesn't change a thing. Yeah,
Corbin is like really on it tonight, though. He keeps mentioning really good things. So it says immediately being able to eliminate if the buyer needs a license helps make that question a lot less confusing. And I really agree. I think eliminating answer choices is so underrated, and it's like not the primary way that we answer questions, but I think it should be, because if you get out of the habit of looking for a right answer and like kind of like reduce your way to the only answer that's left, it will take a lot of
exactly right. As soon as you start asking me about the buyer, I'm already eliminating anything that says the buyer needs a real estate license.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just getting rid of it because I know that's there to trip me up. Right. Remember, there is absolutely no scenario where a buyer will ever need a real estate license in North Carolina. There is absolutely no scenario where a seller will ever need a real estate license. There is
doesn't mean they won't, but it's that's a different scenario, you know.
Right. There's no scenario where a landlord will need a real estate license in North Carolina. There's no scenario where somebody who's renting something and signing a lease will need a real estate license. You just because the way the law looks at that is any work you're doing it for who?
Yourself.
For yourself.
And honestly, guys,
your transaction.
Like truthfully, we've had people come in this class before and they're saying, well, I'm getting my real estate license so I can, buy homes and flip them. Well, heck, you could do that now. You don't need a real estate license to do that.
Do you need a real estate license in North Carolina to buy homes, fix them up, and then sell them, folks? Do you need a real estate license for that?
No. I'm not saying it's not smart to do it. You can get your license. It's probably really smart to.
Right. You might want your license, but you are not required to have it to do that, right? And the people come in us all the time. I'm getting my license because I want to be an investor. Newsflash. You don't need your license to be an investor because investors are buying real estate. You're the buyer. You don't need a real estate license for that, right? Yep. So I do think that Corbin's exactly right, being able to eliminate those things. Now that we've gotten the rule, Dante said, do these rules apply for commercial as well? Yes. Here is the lovely thing about real estate licensure in North Carolina.
There's only one license.
There's only one license. and we treat everything the same. Do we treat a parking lot the same as we do a townhouse, folks?
Oh yes,
Do we treat a
for
parking
sure.
lot the same as a town? Yeah, because it's
Real
all
estate
what?
is real estate.
It's all real estate. It's all. Does real estate just mean houses, or does it mean anything attached to land?
Anything attached to land.
If it's attached to land, it's real estate. That's it. And so we apply the same rules to all real estate. Now, that's the good news. Here's the bad news. Every law in North Carolina, every rule that the Real Estate Commission has exceptions. And you will always be tested very heavily on exceptions to the rule. Now, the purpose of this rule is to tell you when somebody is required to have a real estate license. If I say, oh, that person is an exception to the rule, do you think that person is going to be somebody who does need a license, or somebody who it looks like they need a license, but they're exempt? They're an exception to the rule. Which one do you think it is? When we talk about these exceptions, is this going to be somebody who does need a license, or is this going to be somebody who skates by without getting a license because they got some kind of special little loophole? What do y'all think?
This is somebody that you would look at and you would be like, hey, wait, you need a real estate license. And then they're like, actually, I'm special. I get this like little like freebie, and I don't.
That's exactly right. Something that make you just want to slap a bitch because they just really like be like, oh, I'm special. I don't need a license. Get out of my face. That's who we talking about, right? We talking about those people that the rules don't apply to. How many of y'all know that person in your life that think the rules don't apply to them? What do y'all think? Right? We all know one. Well, guess what? There is those people. Those people exist in real estate. There are people that the license law rule does not apply to them. So these are going to be people that are doing a real estate activity for others and getting paid for it. And they're just going to go, I still don't need no what?
No license.
I still don't need a broker's license. Even though the law says you do, they're exempt from the law. How many of y'all think you might be tested on those people? Those people that the law does not apply to. What do y'all think?
You absolutely will.
Mm-hmm. You totally
They're
will.
very nitpicky too, so you really need to turn your listening ears on.
Yep.
Make sure you're focused here. It's easy to get sidetracked, so make sure you're focusing on these.
Okay. So I don't know who ProPad is. I'm going to have to get your name.
ProPad. If you throw your name in the chat, we can rename you.
Right. They may not know that they're ProPad. Whoever
We
said
would
I
love
would
for you to
become
get attended.
a lawyer, we don't know your ideas. Okay.
Ideas,
Connie,
cool.
did you have a question? I see your hand up. It's just Des? Okay. I remember this. Connie, did you have a question? I see your hand up. Nope, you don't have one? Okay. Ty, what's up?
Okay, I'm just double checking because I think I know the answer. So like with W-2 employees who are licensed, who are with licensed real estate brokers, are there any restrictions with them because they're not licensed?
So let's hold on. We're getting ready to get to who is exempt from the rules, and they are one of those people. But we're getting there. Your question's about 5 minutes too early. Okay.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I like the enthusiasm. Okay. So the first group of people, and Des said, I'm gonna become an attorney. Well, if you want to become an attorney just to avoid getting a real estate license, somehow I think you're making the wrong choice. But, that's up to you. That option is available. Because the first group of people who are exempt from the requirement to have a real estate license are people who are in what profession in North Carolina?
Attorneys.
Attorneys, right? So in North Carolina, attorneys who are working with real estate transactions most likely do not need a real estate license. But what's their excuse going to be? When you look at them and say, you're supposed to have a real estate license for that, what's their excuse going to be?
I'm exempt.
I'm an exception.
I'm exempt. And why am I exempt? Because I'm what?
An attorney.
Because I'm an attorney. Right. Now, that doesn't mean they're always exempt, but I don't think you're going to have to know more than that to know that attorneys, for the most part, are exempt from needing real estate licensure. Doesn't mean they may not have a real estate license. It just means for the most part, they probably don't need one, right? Haley said, I'm an attorney, so therefore I don't need a real estate license. I think she was just saying that's the reason they're saying they're exempt. We don't think Haley's actually an attorney. I wouldn't admit to it if I was. No, I'm kidding. I totally. But for the most part, attorneys are exempt. Now, they have to be performing legal services and all that, but they're not going to get that deep into it with attorneys. Here's where I think the next group of people is much more important. So what's the first group of people who are going to say, not on a boo-boo, I don't have to follow your rule?
Attorneys,
right? So if an attorney's being paid, so like a closing attorney, think about a closing attorney in a real estate transaction. They're totally performing a real estate service. They're getting paid and they're doing it for others. But they're going to say, I don't need a real estate license because I'm a what?
attorney.
And I'm doing a legal service.
Right. I'm exempt. The second group of people, and this is the group of people, this is starting to get into the group of people that Ty was just asking about. Let's start with who they work for. So I'm going to cover up part of this description right here. Okay. So who do these people work for? This next exemption, this next exempt group of people, who do they work for?
The owner.
Of the real estate.
Owner of the real estate. So like, for example, if we're talking about an apartment complex and this person's going to say, I'm exempt because I work for the what?
The owner.
The owner of the
owner of the apartment complex. If we're talking about a house and somebody says, I'm exempt, I don't need a real estate license because I work for who?
The owner of the house.
The owner of the house. If we're talking about a farm and somebody's going to say, I'm exempt, I don't need a real estate license because I work for the what?
The
owner of this farm. Well, heck, that sounds like all you got to do to be exempt is just get hired by the owner of the property, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
That's what it sounds like.
But that's where we got to go back to the first part of this.
You have a W-2.
You got to be a specific type of hired by that owner.
Because if we're just talking about being employed by the owner of the real estate, in most cases, if you're working for a seller, I mean, that would check the box for pretty much all real estate brokers.
I work for owners of real estate all the time. When the owner of a house calls me and says, I want you to list my house, I'm working for the owner, but I'm not exempt. Here's why I'm not exempt. I am not their what? Employee. They are not my boss as an employer. I am not their employee. They did not hire me as their employee. Are they going to be taking out withholding taxes on what they pay me? Are they going to be taking out FICA and Medicare and Social Security taxes and unemployment insurance? If I'm, in most cases, if I'm hired by a seller, they're not taking out any of that. So I'm not their what?
Employee.
Not their employee. But if that owner hires you as their employee, and they say, I am going to take out income taxes when I pay you. I am going to take out Social Security when I pay you. I am going to take out unemployment insurance when I pay you. I am your boss. You are my employee. You are not self-employed. You work for me. I tell you when to show up. I tell you when to go home. I tell you what to do. And at the end of the year, I am going to give you a W-2. Then you are what? Exempt from needing licensure. So, two things you need to know about this exempt person. We're going to add a third one in just a second, but two things you need to know so far. Number one, who does this exempt person work for and report to? Who is their boss?
The owner
of the real estate.
The owner of the piece of property. So, if we're talking about a new construction subdivision and they want to be exempt, who do they work for?
The owner of
the construction.
The owner of those houses that are being built, aka who? The builder. Does that make sense for everybody? The builder, the developer, right? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Kapil said, how about if they work for a real estate broker? That's not who we're talking about right now, Kapil. We're talking about only people that are employed directly by who?
The owner.
The owner.
Owner of the land. The owner of. So if somebody says, well, I manage an apartment complex and I don't need a real estate license for that, even though it's not my apartment complex and I get paid for managing that apartment complex, what's the only way they can be exempt?
If the owner's employing them and they're being paid
W-2.
as a W-2.
If the owner employs them as an employee and they're being paid with a what? A W-2.
W-2.
Everybody with me on that? So are they getting a 1099?
No.
Are they an independent contractor?
No.
Do they get to pick their own hours?
No.
They are an employee. Is everybody with me on that?
Mm-hmm.
And there's another important piece to that we haven't talked about yet. They are salaried.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They are not paid commissions.
Mm-hmm.
They are not paid a percentage of anything. They are not paid bonuses when they sell something or when they rent something. If they have a really good month, they make exactly the same thing as if they had a really bad month. That's what it means to be on a what, folks?
Salary.
A salary. And salary could mean you're paid by the hour. Salary could mean you're paid by the week. Salary could mean you're paid by the month. Salary could mean you're paid by the year. But let me tell you what salary does not mean. Well, I get $30,000 a year and then I get another $5,000 for every house I sell. Bullshit. No, you do not.
That doesn't work like that.
Because that's not an employee. Did everybody hear me on that? Right?
Yeah.
People that are paid based on performance are independent contractors, not employees. So if somebody says to you, well, I manage this apartment complex and they pay me $50,000 a year, but I also get 10% of all of the rent. Are they exempt from licensure, or do they need a license for that? What do you think?
They need a license.
They need a license. But if they say,
And here's the thing. Right. So Sam just mentioned the exact thing that I was thinking, because literally the apartment complex that I rented from as well previously also did this.
Broke the law.
People did not have licenses.
Right. Now,
they allowed them to get commission.
Can somebody manage an apartment complex without a real estate license? Is there a path to do that?
Yes.
If they are employed directly by whoever owns the apartment complex, if they're paid on a what?
Salary.
And they get what at the end of the year?
A W-2.
And they don't get any what?
Commissions.
They don't get any commissions or bonuses based on performance, because that's not a what?
It's not a salary.
Not a salary.
Not a salary.
Now that doesn't mean places don't do it. Of course they do. But it's
do
against
it
the law.
legally.
Right. They don't legally do it. Okay. Erica, did you have a question? I saw your hand go up and then it went down. I want to make sure we got your question.
Well, I did. I think you kind of answered it, but I was just sitting here thinking, because I was employed as a part-time job as a leasing agent at a well-known company here in Fayetteville. And the way they explained it to me was the owner had hired this company to manage for that apartment complex. But the property manager was on a salary, but for every person that we signed up, or if she signed up, she got commission for that. The assistant property manager, if she leased an apartment, she was on salary, but she also got commission for that. And then me being a leasing agent, they were having me split my commission. I was getting paid hourly, and because I was only working on Saturdays, but my commission was getting split. So my question was, to them, and toward the end of when I was in the last class, I asked them, if anyone was, brokers in here. And the assistant manager was a broker, but, previously, but the property manager was not a broker. So when I hear you talk about, well, they're on salary, but they're getting commissions for each person that is leasing, I'm like, well, dang, was that
so
illegal?
Here's what I want to turn it around on you, Erica. Based on what you know, I'm just hiring you. Now you work for the real estate commission. I've called you, and here's my question. Well, I'm doing property management, and I don't have a real estate license, and I'm on a salary. My boss is the owner of the property, but I do get commissions every time I rent an apartment. Am I okay? What's your answer, Erica?
Well, my answer is no. But this is
right.
So the property was called, I'm not gonna put the name out, but it was, I'll just say Echelon Properties. But they
What y'all
would
want to
tell
bet that's
you-
actually the name of the property? What y'all want to bet?
I'm gonna look it
No,
up.
that's
I'm gonna go
not
look
the
it
name.
up.
No, that wasn't the name. That wasn't the name. Because I don't burn bridges now. But this well-known property company, they have several properties here, but they always say approval is based upon the requirements from the owner. So that's why my thought was, okay, they're being hired by the property management to work for the owner.
Yeah, right. But they're not being paid appropriately.
Right.
They're not being paid appropriately. And so this exception only applies if all things are present. So to be exempt, to be clear, based on this exception, who hires you? Not a property management company, not a broker, but who?
The owner of the real estate.
Owner of the real estate. And how do they pay you?
Salary.
W-2 schedule, which means equal amounts or a set amount,
right?
No bonuses.
And how do they not pay you?
No bonuses. Not on performance.
If you want to claim this exemption with the real estate commission, you better make sure all these things are true. Are y'all with me on that? Right?
Absolutely. And so Haley too, also Haley said, I feel like this is every apartment and leasing job ever. And that's the thing. You have to make sure, number one, you recognize it. And number two, kind of try to get over the hump of being like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is going on, because that will set you back if you don't.
And you really got to get past this shock that people break the law, folks. Newsflash, people speed, people cheat on their taxes, people do all sorts of things every day, all day that are illegal. And this just falls in that category of there are a lot of people that break the law, right? But are you going to be tested on that, or are you going to be tested on the law? Just knowing the law. What do you think? Right? And the law is straightforward, right? You can be asked a simple question: is that legal or not? Right? And the answer is no, it's not legal. If they're being paid commissions, they need a license. Everybody good with that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now that's two exempt. So help me out. What was the first group of people that goes, you know what? These laws don't apply to me. Attorneys performing a real estate service. Got it. Okay. What's the second group of people that say, you know what? These laws don't apply to me. I don't need a real estate license.
Salary employees.
Salaried employees that work directly for who pays their salary?
The owner.
The owner of the land, the owner of the property, right? Okay, so like Erica said, Echelon Properties, if you want to claim that exception, you'd have to figure out who owns Echelon Properties, and you'd have to be their employee, correct?
Correct.
Good with that, right? So when you get your W-2, it says what? Echelon Properties. There you go. I work for the property owner themselves. Everybody good with that? Yes? Okay. There's one third group, and this is the group that Ty asked about. This is the group that I believe somebody else had the question just a second ago, and I can't remember who it was. I apologize. Kapil. It was Kapil had the question. The third group of exempt people, and this is the one you really have to be careful with. This is like, I'm telling you, you got to be careful with this one right here, because this is going to be tested so heavily. And so many people screw this up. I'm going to hide the first part. Who do these people work for that are claiming this third exception here? Who do these people work for?
A licensed
real estate broker or a licensed real estate firm would also work. You could be an employee of. So could Trav Talks LLC have an unlicensed employee? Could we have an unlicensed employee? Yes. Could Seth Thomas, the real estate broker, have an unlicensed employee?
Yes.
Yes,
Could
I am a
they-
broker.
Right. He's a broker, right? So Seth Thomas, the real estate broker, could have an unlicensed employee. Everybody with me?
Yes.
But here's where you got to be careful. Same restrictions apply. How does that unlicensed employee get paid by the licensed real estate broker or the licensed real estate firm? A what?
Salary.
A salary. A W-2. So I'm going to give you a scenario and you tell me exception applies or no, they need a license. Are y'all ready? Okay. So Vinny is unlicensed and she goes to work for Trav Talks LLC, which is a licensed real estate firm. And she is regularly performing real estate services like putting signs up, putting lock boxes on the door, answering the phone in the office, taking paperwork to clients, doing things like that, helping set up for open houses. And she is paid a weekly salary of $1,000, and that's all she's ever paid, and she gets a W-2 at the end of the year. Needs a license or exempt?
Exempt.
Exempt. Does everybody agree with that?
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Exempt.
Exempt.
Give you another one.
Exempt. Yeah, exempt.
And that's exempt. That's exactly right. No license required. Corbin is an unlicensed assistant who works for Ashley Martinez, real estate broker. So Ashley's the broker, licensed broker. Corbin goes to work as an unlicensed assistant. And Ashley says, Corbin, I tell you what, I'll pay you $500 a week as your salary, but every home we sell, I'll give you a $200 bonus.
No.
Does the exemption apply, or does Corbin need a real estate license?
Corbin need a real estate license.
Corbin needs a real estate license. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
So this how the payment comes is really important here. Give me a thumbs up if that's clicking for everybody, right? So here's the thing. When somebody says to me, well, I work for a broker, so I don't need a license. Does that really tell me they don't need a license, or do I need to know more about how they're paid? I need to know more about how they're paid, right?
So we have a really good question here. Philip said, W-2 salaried employees who are employed by a licensed broker, does it need to be a broker in charge or can also be a provisional broker or normal broker? So here's the thing. It can be any broker, but also to always remember, we will always give you that detail when it matters.
Yeah, right. So any broker can have an employee. Any broker can employ someone, and that someone can be licensed or unlicensed. But if that someone is unlicensed, how does that broker need to employ that person? Whether that broker is a broker in charge or whether that broker is a provisional broker or a non-provisional broker, how do they need to employ this unlicensed person? As a what?
Salaried
W-2 employee. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Sam.
This could be me like getting too wrapped up in logistics, but I work for a firm here in Cary, and it seems like and from what I've seen in the industry, it seems like all transaction coordinators are required to have a license even though they're salaried. Is that the firm's like just their decision, or is that something else completely?
There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. We're going to talk about, because there are going to be some limitations on what this person right here cannot do. There are going to be things that a licensed broker can do that their unlicensed assistant cannot do. And so when you have people that are assistants, it's always better for them to be licensed, because then you don't have to worry about two things. Number one, you can pay them any way you want to. And number two, they can do anything you can do because they have the same license you have. So like here's my point. What do y'all think it would be better for me? If I'm going to go out and hire an assistant, would I be better off to hire an unlicensed assistant and have to worry about paying them a specific way and things they can't do? Or would it be better for me to hire a licensed assistant who can do every damn thing I can do?
License.
Does that help, Sam? Right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I saw another hand. Kiara, did you have your hand up? I feel like you did.
Yes, I did. I had a question. So you know how you said that we have the 3 criteria in order to be licensed? When we're looking at the example that you gave us, we still have to use those 3 criteria in order for them to be licensed, even if it might be an exempt person?
That's exactly right. So what you want to look at is the three criteria first. This is a great question, right? So Kiara's question is, do I still need to look at the three legs of the stool, the three questions for, these people? Yes, because you may not even need to use the exemption. They may not even be doing something that requires them to have a license in the first place, right? So you always want to check, does the rule say they need a license? Okay, the rule says they need a license. Now you need to check, are they exempt or do they have to follow the rule? Does that make sense, Kiara?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ariana.
So, yeah.
Yes. So, I'm sorry, Seth, did you have something?
No, you're okay. Go ahead.
So how does this affect us trying to get into this career? Because isn't it at one point before we're like fully brokers, we have to be a part of a firm or something of that nature?
We'll talk about that as we get there. Right now, let me tell you how it affects you. You're going to get questions about it. Right? You're going to get questions about these scenarios, and how it affects you is you're not going to be able to pass the test unless you can be given a scenario where the question is, does this person need a license or are they exempt? And you got to be able to answer that question.
So also too, Kapil asked, can the employer pay the unlicensed employee by the end of year a bonus based on their performance? And this is where we're trying to kind of like skirt around what we think we know. No, they cannot. This is whether you're a W-2 employee of a broker or a W-2 employee of an owner. If you are a W-2 employee, that absolutely means for our purposes here that you are not going to get any kind of bonus, anything that is incentivized based on performance, nothing additional outside of your regular pay. That's right. No bonuses, no incentives for selling a certain amount more. That can't happen.
And you got to remember, folks, the real estate commission would prefer everybody have a real estate license. So they're not going to give these exceptions that allow for like half the people in the state to be exempt. These are very narrow exceptions, right? These are really meant. So here's the reality. Most people find these exceptions to not be useful. So they end up getting a what?
License.
A license.
Getting a license, right? License. Most people in this business want to be paid commission?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, guess what? You want to be paid commission? You need a what?
License.
You need to get a license. If you're willing to work for a salary and make the same thing, here's the truth. How hard do people work when they work for a place like Walmart when they make the same thing, whether they ring up 5 people or whether they ring up 10 people? Do they really push themselves or they just kind of go through the motions? What do y'all think?
Just kind of go through the motions.
They go through the motions. Well, isn't your assistant going to kind of be the same way when they make the same thing, whether you close 5 transactions or 50 transactions, and your assistant just going to kind of go through the motions? Right? Yeah. Well, if you want an assistant who really busts ass, you probably want to give them a little piece of the pie. Hey, you get $200 extra every time we close a transaction. But to do that, they need a what?
Real estate license.
Does that click for everybody?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So we got 3 exceptions. I'm going to kind of recap them real quickly. Okay. The first one, and the one that I really don't think you're going to be tested on, people who are attorneys or trustees. If you see attorney or trustee, they don't need a what?
A license.
Real estate license. And I don't think we need to talk any more in detail about that one. Okay. The second one is the salaried employee who works for the owner of the property. Their boss, they directly work for the owner of the property. Okay. Everybody good with that group of people? Mm-hmm. Right? I'm exempt because my boss is the owner of the property and they have me on a salary and they pay me with a W-2. So I'm exempt. I don't need a real estate license. Everybody good with that?
Right.
Okay. And the third group of people, and the ones that are most important to us because they work for us, are unlicensed people who work for real estate brokers. Don't most real estate offices and real estate brokers eventually need some help?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, just to do random things around the office, like, maybe take this paperwork and make copies for me. Maybe go and scan this for me. Maybe, set up the conference room. Maybe set up for our open houses. Maybe you go put the signs up. Maybe you go and deliver this paperwork for me. I need somebody. Well, it's kind of hard to get a licensed person to do all that shit. It just is, right? Because you've got a license, you want to be making the big money. Right. So we can hire an unlicensed person to do that, but we just have to pay them in a very specific way. Everybody good with these exceptions?
Yes.
Okay.
You got to stay really fresh on those, and they're really easy to forget, but make sure you write them down because I remember when I took the class, I 100% just said, oh, okay, W-2 employees, got it. And pretty sure I missed the question because I forgot probably equally half of the important point, which is who is employing you? Are you employed by a broker or are you employed by the owner of the real estate?
See, this is why it's good that I work with Seth. Well, one of the reasons it's good why I work with Seth, because he can still remember when he took the class. I'm so damn old, I can't remember when I took the class. I don't remember nothing. I can't say.
Hey, something as traumatic as that, you don't forget it easily.
I did take it at night, just like you people. I took it at night in Raleigh in person. I had to drive every night after I worked all day, and it was miserable.
I took mine during the day, and I was about second half of the day. I was like,
yeah, right. So we try not to do that to y'all. Karen wants to know how long Seth's been licensed. See, you don't even have to ask him that. That's public knowledge.
Yeah, right, exactly. August 2017. We're coming up on how many years?
7, 8 years?
8 years.
Oh,
Look at that. So if you want to know, that's all public knowledge, folks. You can always go to ncrec.gov and you can click on licensing and you can do a search for real estate brokers down here. And if you know somebody's name, what's your license number, Seth?
298470.
You don't have to know their license number. You can look up by name, but it's easier if you do know their license number. It's always it's publicly available right there. See, his license was issued on August 11th, 2017. There's his license number. There's the firm he's affiliated with. There's his broker in charge. You know, all right there. All right there.
Dustin does not like that.
Yeah,
that's public.
That's part of the deal. That's part of the deal.
You don't like it either.
Yeah, it's all out there. So let's talk about these two unlicensed assistants. Now, remind me, what two groups of people are we talking about here? We're not talking about the attorneys, the trustees, but we're talking about the two unlicensed assistants. People that work for who? What's the first group?
The real estate
owner of the real estate.
Owner of the land, right? Owner of the real estate, owner of the land, right?
And the licensed real estate broker.
Or people that work for a real estate broker or real estate office, right? Okay. We're going to focus on the employees of the owner first. So are we talking about people that work for a real estate office right now?
No.
What do y'all think? No. Mm-mm.
These are people who own the real estate.
These are people.
And honestly, this is the kind of thing you really want to probably get a specific example on. It's not the only example you can go along with, but probably the most common that I can think of personally would be working for a builder.
Yeah, the two most common are you work for a builder or you work for an apartment complex, right? You work directly for the person or the company that what?
It owns the real estate.
It owns the land. Think about builders. Does MI Homes own every lot in that subdivision that they're trying to sell? What do y'all think?
Absolutely.
Right. So could MI Homes hire a salaried employee to sit there in that model home and work for MI Homes? What do y'all think?
Yes, 100%. And they do.
And they do. They do. Could Echelon Properties, which is not really the name, Erica, hire someone to sit in the office of that apartment complex and work for Echelon Properties as an unlicensed assistant? What do y'all think?
Yes, absolutely.
As long as they pay them a salary and on a what?
W-2.
W-2.
You got with Taylor Morrison, Pulte Homes.
So the housing authorities fall under that, correct?
As long as they, what is the exception? The owner of the property. So you look up whoever owns the property, and to get this exemption, you must work for that owner. Is everybody okay with that? Don't overcomplicate it, right? Okay. So if Bob owns the property, to be exempt, you'd have to work for who? Bob. Who's your boss?
Bob.
Who pays your salary?
Bob.
Who does withholding taxes? Bob, right? Who gives you a W-2 at the end of the year? Bob. Everybody with me? And who owns the land? Bob.
Yep.
Right? And so don't overcomplicate it more than that. So if you are that person, you work for the owner of the property, you can do anything Bob tells you to do because Bob is the what of the property?
The owner.
The owner.
Bob is the owner.
So if Bob says sell my property, can you do it? Yes, because it's what?
He's the owner of the property.
His property.
And
If
you're
Bob,
an employee.
and you're his employee. If Bob says rent out my property, can you do it?
Yes.
Yeah. If Bob says sign my name to this contract, can you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's your boss and he owns the property and he told you to do it. Is everybody with me on that?
Yes.
So here's the thing. If you work for Bob, the owner of the property, what are you allowed to do for Bob on that property?
Whatever he
And
is.
Everything. So here's how I like to think of the salaried employee of the property owner.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want. Everything.
Everything you want, Bob. What do you get for your $10? Everything you want. So if Bob tells you sell his property, what are you going to do?
Sell it.
Sell it. If Bob tells you to write up a contract, what are you going to do?
Write
Write up the contract. And the reason you're going to do that is because it's Bob's property. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Bob owns the property. Bob is your boss. Bob pays your salary. You do what Bob says. Pretty simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you ever push back and say, I can't do that, Bob, because I don't have a real estate license?
No.
No, because Bob is your boss and Bob owns the property. Let me tell you what's the one time you push back on Bob. If Bob asks you to work on property that he does not own.
Right.
Because the key to this exemption is
you're working for the owner.
You're working for the owner of the property. So if Bob says, listen, there's this other apartment complex across town that I'm thinking about buying, but I don't own it yet. I want you to go do some research on it for me. What's your answer?
No.
No, Bob.
No.
I can't do that.
No.
You buy it first, and then I can go work on it for you. But I can only work on property that you what? You own. Everybody with me on that?
Yes.
Kiara.
I had a question. What if the owner, you're related to the owner and you do not get paid? Like, say if my dad owns an apartment complex and I'm working for him, but I'm not getting paid salary, would I still be exempt or no?
Well, so here's the thing. Kiara, you asked me this question earlier and then you didn't do what you asked about. You asked a really good question earlier.
Oh, the 3 criteria.
You said, do you apply the 3 things first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was my answer? And I love this question, by the way. You apply the 3 things first. So the minute you tell me you're not getting paid, do I need to worry about exceptions or exemptions, or can I just say you don't need a license? What do you think? You don't need a license because if you're not getting paid, there's no way you need a license. Does that help? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So again, if we're talking about somebody who's exempt because they work for the owner, what kind of services can they provide?
Whatever service.
Everything.
Whatever services the owner wants. Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Can they show that property that can they show their owner's property to buyers?
Yes.
Can they show their owner's property to tenants?
Yes.
Can they write contracts on the property owned by their boss? Yes, absolutely. Can they advertise property owned by their boss?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because the answer is always going to be yes, as long as it's property what?
It's owned by
Owned by their boss, and as long as they're paid a salary, they're good to go.
Yes, and W-2.
Yep. Sabrina.
So at any point that like he's working for Bob and Bob asks him to go do something, but offers something extra that's not salary, not W-2, then it's going to require a license. Like if he's like,
yep,
I need you to go do this and I'm going to give you an extra $200 for
bingo, license required. That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Or I'm tell you what, you have killed it this week. I cannot believe you rented 6 apartment units. I'm going to give you $1,000 bonus, boy. You killing it. License right there, because it's above and beyond a salary, right? Not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it would require a license. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Now let's apply that to this question right here. I want you to take a look at this question. Okay. Taylor is unlicensed but works as a salaried employee of Centex Homes, who's building and developing, I'll make it full screen so you can read it a little better, the answers, who's building and developing a new subdivision that they own. So Syntex Homes owns the subdivision. Taylor is paid $75,000 annually for helping buyers choose lots and homes. So we got a salaried employee paid $75,000 annually by Syntex Homes, who's building and developing a new subdivision that Syntex Homes owns. A, Taylor cannot assist buyers with these purchases without a real estate license. B, Taylor is free to work in this manner as the employee of the property owner and can receive bonuses for good performance. C, Taylor's free to work in this manner as the employee of the property owner so long as she does not receive any sort of bonuses associated with job performance. Or D, Syntex Homes would need to have its own real estate firm license in order to accomplish this goal.
Hello.
Oh my God.
So let's talk about it. A, Taylor cannot assist buyers with these purchases without a real estate license. Is that true or is that not true based on the situation you're given here? What do y'all think?
Not true.
Not true.
I don't think that's true because to me, all right, so Taylor works for Syntex Homes and
Yeah.
Syntex is building a development that they what? They own. Okay.
They own, right.
They tell us specifically Taylor is a salaried employee, right?
Right.
And paid $75,000 annually. Do y'all see anything wrong with that for an unlicensed person, or does that seem exactly what the exception's built for? What do y'all think?
Exactly what the exception for.
I mean, that is the exception, almost word for word. What do y'all think? Right? So I think A's wrong. I think Taylor can do this. B, Taylor's free to work in this manner as the employee of the property owner. So far I like it. And can receive bonuses for good performance.
No.
No.
No bonus.
Yeah. See, that whole bonus thing done threw me all off. What do y'all think?
Yes.
Yep. See, that to me would say you need a license. C, Taylor's free to work in this manner as the employee of the property owner so long as she doesn't receive any sort of bonuses. Well, I like that. What do y'all think? Right? Okay.
Yes.
And then D, Syntex Homes would need to have its own real estate firm license in order to accomplish this goal. Didn't we say sellers never need a real estate license? What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Right? And Syntex Homes is a seller, so they definitely don't need a real estate license. To me, C is the one that makes sense here. That is the exception. So here's now what you learned in a practical sense. Is there any guarantee that that person working in that model home, that on-site sales agent, is actually a real estate broker? Is there any guarantee that they have a real estate license, folks?
No.
As a matter of fact, a huge percentage of them do not have a real estate license. Builders love this setup right here. What do most builders not want to pay? Commissions. They would much rather put somebody who's salaried in there and pay them for sitting there. And so most of the time when you go buy a new construction home, the person that you're dealing with is probably an unlicensed salaried employee. How about that? How many of y'all thought they all had a real estate license? What do y'all think? Right? A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. Okay. So how do we feel? I mean, obviously you did well with it, but how'd you feel about it? Pretty comfortable with that answer?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I think you're going to see something exactly like that when you're testing. I really do. So let's pause right there. Okay. Let's take a pause for the cause right there and take a little 10-minute break. Okay. So there are going to be some things that these people cannot do. Now, if you'll remember, the people who work as employees of the property owner, what can they do? What are they allowed to do legally in the place of their boss? What is the salaried employee of a property owner allowed to do for their boss?
Basically everything.
Anything and everything their boss tells them to do, right? Absolutely anything and everything that their boss tells them to do. And what is the what's the limitation then? I mean, so what's the one time that salaried employee of a property owner has to say, you know what? No, I can't. What's the one time?
If they're being offered a bonus.
property.
If they want to pay a commission, or if they want to send them off of, the boss wants to send them to property that the boss doesn't own, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, that's going to be different for the salaried employee of a broker. When you work for a broker or you work for a firm, there are going to be some limitations on what you can do. Now, I've got 3 slides here where I've listed like 14 things that a broker's unlicensed salaried assistant can do. And we could spend a bunch of time talking about the 14 things here on these slides that a broker's salaried unlicensed employee can do. Or we could just talk about the 4 or 5 things that a broker's unlicensed assistant can't do. So, I feel like this should be like a little bit of a democracy here. So what would y'all rather do? Would you rather learn 14, 15 things that the salaried, unlicensed broker employee can do? Or would you like to learn the 4 or 5 things that they cannot do? So Seth, I don't know. Are you counting the responses over there? I mean, it kind of looks like to me that they want to learn the 14 things they can do.
I think they probably want to do the can't this time.
So the cans. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll do the 4. Y'all keep saying can, right?
No.
I'm hearing that.
Trust me, guys. I've done the cans. They're not as fun.
Yeah, you want to learn your short list, right? Right? Yeah, the short list. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And it's actually the way I would learn it too. Because here's the best way to learn what a broker's unlicensed employee can do. Learn what they can't do, and they can do anything else. If you learn the 4 or 5 things that I cannot have my assistant do, then they can do anything else. Is everybody with me on that?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So the first thing that a broker's unlicensed assistant cannot do is negotiate anything. So like they can't be involved in an offer process. They can't go present an offer and say, our clients will be willing to pay this, or will you accept this offer? That's a what? What are we doing when we start putting offers back and forth? What is that? That's a what?
Negotiation.
A negotiation, right? If you go up to an unlicensed broker's assistant and you start asking them what their clients would be willing to accept, what their clients would be willing to do, their answer has to be, I can't have that conversation. You need to talk to my boss, the broker. Any negotiation needs to go through my boss, the real estate broker. I can't help you with any what? Negotiation. So like as an example, can a real estate broker who is managing an apartment complex put their salaried assistant in the office of that apartment complex? What do y'all think? Can I put my salaried unlicensed assistant that works for me as a broker in the office of that apartment complex? Can I do that? Have them babysit the office?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody comes in and says, how much does the apartment that's available on the 3rd floor rent for? Can my unlicensed assistant answer that question if they have a list of apartments and prices? Can they answer that question?
Yes.
Yes, they can.
So can they say, oh, well, that one's $1,800 a month. Can they do that?
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Sure.
And when that potential tenant says, well, will they take $1,700 a month? Can that unlicensed broker's assistant continue that conversation at that point in time?
No.
What do they have to say at that moment?
Ask my boss.
You need to speak to my boss.
You need to speak to my boss, the broker. You got to talk to a
Right.
broker for that. Now, here's what comparison for y'all. And I think Seth was about to make it too. I feel like I jumped
No,
in
I was
there.
just gonna say, I'll have your people talk to my people.
There you go. That's exactly right.
That's what you gotta say.
Can't continue that at that moment. But here's the difference though. If that unlicensed person works directly for the owner, can they engage in that conversation? Can they
Yes,
do
they
that
can.
negotiation?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, they can.
Yes, because remember, if you work directly for the owner of the property, you can do what?
Whatever he says.
Everything. So this is where these questions are going to get difficult, because you can't just say, oh, they're salaried, so I know what they can do and they can't do. They got to go look at who they work for. Different rules if you work for the owner versus if you work for a broker. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right,
So-
because
so-
what'll happen is they're going to be talking about, they're going to give you an example of somebody who works for a W-2. They're a W-2 employee and they work for the owner, but then they'll have some answer choices in there that say like, they can't do this or they can't do that. And they're talking about the unlicensed assistant of a broker. So you got to make sure you know the differences between which can do which. The W-2 employee of an owner, they can do anything as long as they stay on that property. There's no limitations to what that W-2 unlicensed assistant of an owner can do. But if you're talking about the W-2 salaried employee of a broker, there are some limitations. And the easiest way that I thought about that was brokers have limitations.
That's right.
Every unlicensed person out here who doesn't have a license, there's no limitations on them. But
Well,
if you're working
you're
for a
exactly
broker,
right. To Seth's point, can the real estate commission control what an owner has their employee do? Can the real estate commission say what an owner's employee can do? No, they don't have nothing to do with that. But can the real estate commission say what a broker's employee can do? Yes. So all these limitations are not on the owner's employees, but on the broker employees. Does that kind of help everybody understand why these are different rules? Right?
Well, it's the brokers who have limitations, so obviously your employees are going to have limitations.
It's exactly right. So when we say, okay, this person's a salaried employee, they can't negotiate. Well, they must work for who?
A broker.
A broker. Because if they worked for the owner, they could negotiate. Give me a thumbs up if that clicks for you. Somebody okay with that? Yeah.
Laurent, I saw a clap, but was that like an agreement, or were you trying to figure out how to raise your hand? Let me see.
Wait a minute. Did you say you saw a clap or you had to clap? I didn't remember. It broke up for a second. So.
Back to the material. Thank you, Laurent.
I love it.
Laurent, you love it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
I
Gotcha.
never met anybody who loved to clap, but that's all right. You do you, but that's all right. No, I'm kidding. We're giving Laurent a hard time. No, we
Mind out of the gutter.
I can't. Then I'd have to go to sleep. That's the only way I can get my mind out of the gutter. I mean, like it's perpetually there.
That sounds like a real big personal problem.
It is. Trust me. It's a dangerous place up there. It is. So let's talk about the second thing that a broker's employee cannot do. A broker's employee can't create things without supervision. Now, a broker's employee can certainly create things. Like, for example, if I have an unlicensed employee, can they create like a flyer for a house that I'm marketing as a broker? Can they create the flyer?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, as long as I what?
Look it over.
As long as I look it over and make sure it's acceptable before it gets published. That's supervising, right? It's not that they can't create things. They can't create things without what? Supervision. Like, for example, I could totally get my employee who doesn't have a license to fill in the blanks on a contract if I gave them the information that was to go in those blanks, and I looked it over before it went out of the office. In other words, they can fill it in as long as they get the information from me, the broker, and I check behind them. I have to supervise them. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Well, okay, and here's the thing too. So we're still on the kind of like the same idea here. Armani said, would it be considered negotiating? So going back just a hair, would it be considered negotiating if the boss, the broker, then relays to you, the unlicensed assistant, to agree to a price change?
Yes, absolutely. Anything that deals with, the actual having conversations about alterations in prices and all has got to be done by the broker themselves.
So basically just take the unlicensed person out, put the broker in.
So what's the only number an unlicensed broker's assistant can say? List price.
Listing price.
Does that make sense for everybody? Whatever is on sticker price, whatever is on the list price. That's the only number they can talk about. You know, any other discussion has to go through the broker. Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So creating things has to be done with supervision. Look at this one. And I guarantee you this one's coming on the test because this one is so nitpicky difficult. A broker's unlicensed assistant.
A broker's
unlicensed assistant or a firm's unlicensed assistant can never show property that is for sale to buyers for any reason. They can't be there and open it up for an inspection with a potential buyer. They can't hold an open house that buyers are going to be at. They can't do a showing for a buyer. They can't get there ahead of the broker and open the house up for a buyer. They cannot be in that property with a potential buyer. If that property's for sale and there's a buyer on the property, who must be there?
A licensed broker.
Broker themselves, not their assistant. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah. So unlicensed assistants of brokers can't show property at all?
See, I didn't say that. And that's where you're going to get hung up. I said unlicensed. And by the way, Seth is asking you the very question you're going to get on the test. Keep in mind, Fran, they are being paid. They're being paid a salary. That's what makes them a broker's unlicensed assistant in the first place, right? They're being paid a salary. And so that broker's assistant that's being paid a salary cannot show property that is for sale. And they can't show that for sale property to potential who? Buyers. Now, Seth, say what you said.
So I don't know if you heard my cat.
I did.
Like it was at the most
which
random,
one was that? Was that
but
banana?
perfect time. Orange.
Oh, that was
It's a little
orange.
weird today. So you're saying unlicensed assistants of brokers can't show property at all?
Is that what I said, folks? Did I say unlicensed assistant of brokers couldn't show property at all, or did I make it very specific?
You made it specific.
Well, that's what I heard.
What did I say that he didn't say?
Potential buyer.
I said property for sale to buyers. He said all property. So what property could a broker's assistant show?
Rental
property. Can a broker's assistant show rentals?
Yes.
Can a broker's assistant who doesn't have a real estate license take potential tenants into property?
Yes.
Yes. Can that broker's assistant take potential buyers into property? No. Can that broker's assistant show property that is for sale? No. So could we have a broker's unlicensed assistant working in an apartment complex that the broker manages? So the broker manages, the broker has an assistant that they leave in the apartment complex. Could that assistant show any potential renter who comes in the office apartments that are for rent in that development? Yes, they could. Yes, they could. Could a broker's unlicensed assistant hold an open house for buyers to come view a property that's listed by the broker?
No.
Absolutely not. Could I, as a broker, send my unlicensed assistant over to a property and meet one of our buyer clients there for a home inspection because I'm too busy to go? No, they cannot be in that property with that buyer by themselves.
Well, think about it this way. What if you have the broker just go over there and open the door, but they don't go? I'm sorry, the unlicensed assistant of the broker go in there, just unlock the door. They're just on the property, but they just don't walk in there with the buyer.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it doesn't depend on the complex and land here, Ashley. It depends on who they are showing. Who is it okay for an unlicensed broker's assistant to take into property? Who is it okay for them to take into property? Renters, tenants.
Yeah.
Who is it not okay for a broker's unlicensed assistant to take? Buyers. Specifically buyers. So can my unlicensed assistant set up for my open houses? Can they go and show up early and put the signs up and turn the lights on and open the blinds and cook and put the cookies out and the flowers in the house?
No. No.
Yes.
Yes.
You're taking it further than what the restriction says. Who did I not mention being there with them?
Buyers.
Buyers. There's nothing that says they can't be in a property that's for sale. It says they can't show that property to who?
Buyers.
Buyers. So
It's
I
very
can
literal.
right. I can totally have, and those are the kinds of questions you're going to get. I can totally have my unlicensed assistant that works for me as a broker go set up for the open house. But they can't hold the open house because who's going to come to the open house?
The buyers.
Buyers are. Now, can they be there with me, the broker, during the open house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure,
You're the
absolutely.
supervision. And so Laurent asked, is saying set up, is this okay or no? So I think you already got that answer, but I just want to say it for everybody. Yes, setting up the open house is absolutely okay. And we actually, Travis has a great example of when he was like really going hard in general sales. He had a unlicensed assistant who would go through. So Travis, when he would work as a buyer's agent, you know, when you're a buyer's agent, you've got many showings set up all throughout the day. And he would have an unlicensed assistant go to those houses before he and the buyer ever got there, which, by the way, even if him and the buyer showed up, it would have been fine because the broker, your boss, is already there. But here's the thing. The unlicensed assistant would go and turn on all the lights, open all the doors, make sure everything is ready to go for a smooth showing. And
So when we pulled up in the driveway, all we had to do was what?
Just walk in.
Walk in, and my assistant was there babysitting the house, had all the blinds open, all the lights turned on, so the house showed well. And then she would leave, and where do you think she's headed? To the what? To the next house, and I showed the property, right? While she heads to the next house, she gets to the next house, she does the same thing. She opens it up, she has the front door open, she turns the lights on. If it stinks in there, she walks through and sprays Febreze in the house, whatever needs to be done to get it ready for the showing. And then I show up with the buyer, and she goes to the next one.
Absolutely.
We can absolutely use them like that. We just can't have them there by themselves with a buyer. Does that make sense for everybody?
Well, and also too, going along that same line, Miles asked, if you are setting up as an assistant and the buyer shows up, do you need to tell the buyer to wait until the broker shows up? So actually, funny story, that same assistant was actually setting up for an open house.
Happened to me. Absolutely.
And buyers had shown up early, wanted to see the home. And she was like, oh my God, what do I do? Do I need to
and then I'm running late. Of all times, buyer shows up, or I'm supposed to be having an open house from 1 to 3 o'clock. She goes over there. She's setting up everything. She's put the signs out. She's got the balloons up. You know, sign says open house, a house open at 1 o'clock. And she calls me at 1:45. And she says, the buyer's already here. And I said, shit. And then I got caught in traffic. So not only are the buyers there early, I'm not going to be there on time at 1 o'clock. What do you think I had to tell her?
Lock
the door.
Hide in the bathroom.
I don't have a conversation with them. Well, I can stall. No, you cannot, because you can't what?
You can't be there with buyers.
You can't be there with them. You cannot. You just can't. Not as an unlicensed assistant that works for me as a broker. You can't do it. Is everybody good with that? Okay. Yeah. Now, rental property, totally cool. And I get it, and people are like, but why? I don't know why that's the rule. I just know it's the rule. And I know you're going to get tested on it. Okay. So make sure you're good with that one. Now, do any of these restrictions apply to an assistant that works for the property owner? No, these restrictions only apply to a broker's assistant. So it's really super nitpicky. So let's talk about the other things they can't do. Can't make any referrals and get paid like a referral fee. That goes back to the whole idea of like a salary. And they can't do solicitation. So like things like making calls on behalf of their boss, the broker, and saying, hey, would you like us to sell your house? Or going and knocking on doors and saying, hey, we would love to list your property. All that kind of direct to people marketing has to be done by the broker themselves. Okay. Morgan and Dorian asked, what if the house is for sale or rent? Well, it would depend on who you were taking to the property. In order for the unlicensed assistant to show the property, we'd have to be very clear that the people looking at it were only interested in what?
Renting it.
In renting it, right? You know, if they had any interest at all in purchasing the property, then the broker's assistant could not do that showing. But if they were absolutely only interested in rent, and that would be what we would say to them if we were going to have our assistant do that showing. We would say to these people, now this house is for both sale and rent, but we need to be clear, you are not being shown this property as a potential for you to buy. If you have any interest in buying it, we need to set up somebody else for you to look at the property with at some other time. But if you're only interested in renting it, I can have my assistant show it to you at 2:00. How's that sound? Okay? Right? Okay.
This can seem like a lot of information, and it kind of is. It is if it's your first time hearing it, but that's why we always recommend watching these videos before coming to class, take the quizzes and stuff like that. Don't get overwhelmed if it seems like it's a lot. You just gotta have repetition with the rules, and it will get easier.
And the other thing is, you're totally right. And the other thing is, Ariana, love you, mean it. Don't make it harder on yourself. What's the last word? Does that include rent to own? Well, what's the last word there? Own. That's a property that's for what?
Sale.
For sale. You're talking to people about potentially buying it. Those are buyers. Yeah.
Okay. Well, along that same line too, like, you know, Morgan and Dorian's question, while it's a great question, I would also say that one is probably one making it more difficult on yourself than it needs to be. We try to keep it super simple because the test can be complex as it is, and we just try to distill it down to the things that are going to help you stay on the straight and narrow.
Absolutely. So, question for you. I'm going to ask you just a couple questions, and then we're going to do some scenarios to close out tonight, and we'll be done with unit 1.1. Look at that. We're already finishing up a unit. You're already ready for the test. Y'all want to take the test tomorrow? We can do that if you want to. Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll do it tomorrow.
Shaq's like, I'm ready to go.
Final exam tomorrow at 6. Okay.
Ready to go.
You'll get at least 4 questions right.
We'll do it old school style.
The other 136, you're on your own. I don't know. So let's say that Kayla works for MI Homes as their salaried employee. MI Homes is a builder, and she's working in a neighborhood that they're developing as their salaried employee. Everybody with me?
Yep.
Okay. Buyers come in who are interested in seeing one of the properties that MI Homes is developing in the neighborhood, and they want her, Kayla, the unlicensed employee of MI Homes, to take them out there and show them that property that is being developed by MI Homes. Can she do it? Can Kayla, the unlicensed assistant that works for MI Homes, the builder, take that buyer out to look at that property that's for sale?
Yes.
Yes. Because she's not working for a broker. She's working for what?
The owner.
Owner. How many of y'all felt good about that? Yeah. Right? Okay. Jadera is an unlicensed assistant that works for ABC Realty Incorporated. And the broker in charge says to Jadera, we have this home that is for rent, and we need you to meet these tenants over there. Now, I'm not going to go with you. I don't have time for that. But we need you to meet these potential tenants over there with an application packet and show them the property. And if they're interested, just have them fill out the application packet. Can she do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought she couldn't show property if she was a broker's assistant.
It's a rental.
They're rental properties.
Okay. I'm glad you reminded me of that. It's a rental. I forgot all about that. Very good. It's a rental. She can do it because it's a rental. Now, if that was a for sale property, could you dare go over there and show that property that's for sale that broker has?
No. Not without a license.
Oh, good. So let's take a look then at some scenarios. Now, these are going to require us to kind of combine everything we know so far,
right?
To answer these. Keep
And
in
really
mind.
quick, before we do, I kind of want to make sure Alexis is on the boat with us. So it says, I believe said asked unlicensed assistants can't show property at all. So I was kind of being, I was kind of playing dumb.
Right.
Because I know those questions come up. So I just want to make sure you're clear that unlicensed assistants can show properties. Unlicensed assistants of brokers can show some properties. They are rental properties to tenants, but they can't show properties for sale.
Right.
If you're talking about the unlicensed assistant of an owner, then they can show all property.
And FYI, because this would have been something that would have tripped me up. On a test, when they're asking about open houses, they mean for sale. I know technically there are sometimes rental properties that are open so people can view them. But when they say an open house, they're not talking about a property that's for rent. They're talking about a property that's for sale. Is everybody okay with that? So just understand, if they mention open house, they're talking about for sale. They're talking about open houses being held at sale properties, not rental properties. So what do we say our test taking strategy was when we get a big wall of text like this? What are we going to do first? What's going to
find your question?
Go to the end to kind of give ourselves some idea of what we're going to be asked about. Okay, does Teddy need a North Carolina real estate license? So now I know no matter what's in here, I'm focused on who.
Teddy.
Focus on Teddy, right? And to me, that's so helpful, because if I start reading all this, I don't know what's important and what's not. Now I know if I start reading about Bob and Mary and Karen, I don't give about nobody except who?
Teddy.
Right? So I can ignore all that fluff, right? Okay, so Teddy is an on-site employee of Blue Sky Builders, right? Who's paid $75,000 annually and routinely meets with potential buyers to show them homes, help them choose or help them select floor plans, choose options, and prepare purchase agreements. Does Teddy need a North Carolina real estate license? So
no.
What do we think? What do we think?
No.
Well, here's the thing. To me, Teddy is performing a real estate activity. I mean, if I go through the checklist, I mean, he's a real estate activity. He's being compensated, and he's working for others. That's 3 check marks, right?
He's a salary.
But he's working for the owner. Builders.
Are you trying to tell me he's exempt? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes.
So for him to be exempt, I need to look for some things. He needs to be an employee of somebody, correct?
Correct.
The owner. So he is an employee. Okay, and who's he an employee of?
The
owner. The builder is the owner, right? So he's the employee of the owner. Well, if he's the employee of the owner, then he can do what with that property?
Whatever
they tell him to do.
He can do whatever they tell him.
$10. Everything you want.
Everything?
Everything.
Everything. That's exactly right. Everything. Except with inflation, you only get half of what you want for $10 now, apparently. No, I'm kidding. You get everything still. So he can do anything. Can he show that property even though it's for sale? Absolutely. Because he works for who?
The
owner. Could he negotiate a contract on that property? Yes, because he works for who?
The owner.
And I love that answer. If the owner tells him to, absolutely. That's exactly right. So this is a perfect example of someone who is exempt. How does everybody feel about that?
Good.
Okay, good?
Yeah.
Did we get Alexis's question answered?
We did, absolutely. Yep. For sure. I just I was answering in there. I was just saying, I don't know if you remember your exact scenario you were given, because Travis just comes up with ideas on the fly.
Yeah.
But I was just saying we will have plenty of examples and they will all hit on the same concepts. So we'll get there.
So
we'll get it again.
Yep. Now, this is a perfect example of something that goes on in the real world. We see these unlicensed people working for builders all the time. It's one of it's one of the very common. We also see unlicensed property managers do this in rental settings as well. But this is totally allowed. This is an exception. This person does not need a license. Okay. What are we going to do? Big wall of text here.
Read the
Right.
question.
Right. And I'm not saying that's always going to work, right? You know,
it's just an arsenal of strategies that you
Right.
try to use what is available to you.
Right. So it says regularly the BIC hands her the file of a property and says, take my notes here and fill in this blank contract for the house on Main Street. So we kind of know the setup at least. Even if we didn't see a question, we know what's happening. This person is being handed a file and saying, here, go fill this out.
So you might not necessarily have your like direct question here yet, but you do have a little context.
Right. Juanita works in a real estate office and is paid $25 hourly with a W-2. Well, right away, I see something. This is that employee of who?
A real estate broker.
Does that make sense for everybody? Right?
Yeah.
So are we talking about somebody who can do everything for the $10, or are we talking about somebody who's got some limitations?
Limitations.
Okay, we're talking about some limitations, okay? Her job consists of performing various tasks on behalf of the broker in charge and other brokers within the office. Regularly, the broker in charge hands her the file of a property and says, take my notes here and fill in this blank contract for the house on Main Street. So, in other words, you don't make up what's in the contract. You just take what I give you and you fill in the blanks. What do we think? Is this within the boundaries of what a broker's salaried unlicensed assistant is allowed to do, or is this out of bounds?
It's allowed. It can do.
It can do allowed.
It's allowed.
It's allowed.
I'm glad we're talking about this one.
I'm glad we're talking about this one. I think this is exempt because remember, we don't say that unlicensed brokers' assistants can't create things. We say they can't create things without what?
Supervision.
Is by giving this unlicensed assistant notes and saying, take my notes and fill out the contract with what I have in my notes here, is the broker properly supervising this action?
Yes.
What do y'all think?
Yes.
And I love the way Christina put this. This is just data entry at this point. Isn't this just kind of an administrative task? This is just kind of like clerical work, right?
Absolutely.
You know? Right. This is listen, I ain't got time to fill in all them damn blanks. Here's what goes in line number 1, line number 4, line number 6. Just go get the paperwork done. Right? You know, that's what's happening here. And this is an example of an exemption. It meets all the requirements. She's paid a salary. She's an employee. She gets a W-2. She doesn't get any kind of bonuses or anything. And she's being supervised in what she's being asked to do.
Yeah.
Totally. Anybody got a question about this one, or we feel okay with it now? Because I know a couple of you said it was out of bounds. So I want to make sure you understand that why this is okay.
And feel free to speak up if you ever have like, you know, if you weren't like 100% confident, maybe you're still not confident on it. But I will say probably the thing that might have tipped some of y'all over is saying, you know, fill in this blank contract.
Right. The word contract, I think, scares people, right?
Yeah.
You know, the reality is, you know, a contract is just a series of fill in the blanks for us. So if the contract itself is already pre-written, it's just a bunch of blanks. If I'm giving somebody, here's what goes in the blanks, well, you know, a 3-year-old can do that.
As
You
long
know,
as they're not negotiating, right?
Right, as long as they're not creating. Now, if we just say, hey, you know, go talk to the buyer and see what they're willing to offer and come up with something, and that's a no.
Right.
No, but if I tell you, here's what I want in all the blanks and here's the information, totally.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. Now, and obviously, you know, you want to be careful with things like this. I'm not saying this is necessarily how I would do it, but it's allowable. It's allowable. I'll be honest. I did in my past life have an unlicensed assistant. I don't think I'd ever do it again. Looking back on it, I wouldn't want to have that situation where I had to tell her to lock everybody out of the house until I got there. You know, if I was hiring an assistant now, it would probably be a licensed assistant. But, you know, that's, again, we're not going to be tested on what's smart. We're going to be tested on what's legal. Okay. So take a look at this one. Okay. And here's the question. Does it require a license for LaToya? Okay. So it says LaToya, a salaried assistant of broker Steve, who makes $500 weekly, schedules and shows apartment units for rent to potential tenants in a building that Steve manages.
So I'm gonna assume we're talking about LaToya, because she's the one who is getting paid.
And the question is actually up here on the slide, right? Does it require a license for LaToya? What do we think here? Do we need a license for LaToya, or is she operating within the boundaries of the rule and the exceptions?
She is exempt.
No license.
Don't need a license. She's operating boundaries.
I think she's within the boundaries and exempt. I don't think she needs a license, right? And the reason, here's what I'm looking at, kind of the whole situation. It says she's salaried, right?
And then
it says
the rentals.
She works for a broker, and she's showing apartment units that are for what? For rent to potential tenants. I don't see her doing anything that are outside of the lines here, right? So, I mean, so far they're coloring in the lines.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, again, that they might not make a goof up here. But so far, what you've told me is this is okay. This looks okay so far. Was everybody all right on this one? I didn't hear any, nobody seemed to get tripped up with this one too much.
No, I didn't see any.
Okay. Y'all are doing well. Y'all are doing real well. All right.
All right.
Okay. So here's does it require a license? Okay.
Yeah.
Jose's parents own a duplex. Now, a duplex is just one home that's been divided into two units, right? So one building, one structure, one roof that's been divided into two units. One owner owns the building, but they're usually renting it out separately as two separate units. A triplex would just be one that's been divided into three units. You get much larger than that, and you're talking about an apartment complex. But this is a duplex. Jose's parents own a duplex with tenants occupying one side and Jose living in the other. Okay. Jose collects rent, manages tenant security deposits, handles small repairs, and generally cares for the property for his parents in exchange for living rent-free in his half of the duplex. So they got, this home's got two units in it. They're side by side under the same roof. One side they're renting out, and the other side they're letting their son live there rent-free, but in exchange for him basically working for them. He's basically handling the property for them in exchange for not having to pay rent. So what do we think about this situation? I mean, first question, is Jose performing a real estate activity here? What do you think?
Yes.
I think so. Is he doing it for others?
Yes.
Yeah, he's doing it for his parents, right? I mean, I get that it's his parents, but that's still not himself. Is he receiving any sort of compensation or value related to that work?
Free rent.
He's
living rent free.
Free rent has value, right?
For living rent free.
Yeah, I think free rent has value. So that seems to me. So now we're stuck with, okay, he's performing a real estate service. He's being compensated and he's doing the work for others. That's starting to sound like he needs a license, but maybe he's exempt. We need to check to see if he's exempt. How many of y'all agree with that? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's not an attorney, so you don't get that one. Is he a salaried employee of anybody?
No.
See, I don't see anything about a salary. I don't see anything about the word employee. I don't see anything about a W-2. I don't think he qualifies for either one of the salaried exceptions. What do y'all think?
No.
So what's the answer here? Does Jose need a license?
He need a license.
Yes.
Needs a license.
Jose needs a broker's license.
Now, Christina said this one actually tripped her up because it was family.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand that because that's the kind of this is the kind of question that is engineered to make you think like that and make you think, oh, it's just family, like it's not a big deal. And I would have thought the same thing, to be completely honest, but there is no license exception for family.
If he wasn't dealing with the tenants, then he would be fine.
That's right. If he wasn't managing the other side, if they were just giving him free rent, are they really giving him free rent, or is he working for the rent, folks? What do y'all think?
Working
For it. He's working for the rent, but he's not being paid a salary because he's not on a W-2. They're not taking out withholding taxes. They're not doing all those things that you do for an employee. So unfortunately for him, he doesn't qualify for any of the exceptions. Now, is this the kind of thing the real estate commission is really going to go after somebody for? Probably not. But again, that's not what we're being asked. What we're being asked is, by the letter of the law, does this require a license? And it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think Seth's point is so important. Is the real estate commission, buggers that they are sometimes on these tests, are they going to try to talk you out of the laws with kind of distraction things like, oh, it's family, or it's this, or it's, like, are they going to try to use that kind of stuff against you? What do y'all think?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Totally. Absolutely they are. They absolutely are. And so you just got to remember the rule. I'm just going to apply the rule. I'm not going to go any further than that. Let Jose figure out what he does, what he wants to do. Okay. All right. So let's find our question all the way at the end. Does Chandler need a license to perform this task? So that helps, but it helps me. I know no matter how many names you give me, I'm only focusing on who? Chandler. Okay. So licensee Ingram. Let me tell you what this word means right here. Licensee, could that be the same thing as broker? What do y'all think?
Broker.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just means somebody with a license, right? So broker Ingram or licensee Ingram received a phone call from Carla, who's a potential buyer. Carla saw a for sale sign on the front lawn of one of Ingram's listings. We still ain't said nothing about Chandler, by the way.
Oh.
Ingram calls his assistant Chandler. Okay, there's who we care about. Who's paid $30 hourly on a W-2, and asked if Chandler could go meet the buyer and open the home for the buyer to check it out. Does Chandler need a license to perform this task?
Yes. She's working for.
They can never be alone with potential buyers.
Can't fool y'all.
Yeah.
Who do they work? Who does Chandler work for?
The broker.
And what's one of them big no-nos for a broker's assistant?
Can never be alone with potential buyer.
Be alone with a buyer. Right?
The way y'all are saying they can never be alone is making me. It sounds like a pedophile.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah,
I can't take it.
Somebody don't get felt up. You can't do it. No.
That's a good one. Look at it. That's
broker.
like you can't be alone with buyer.
Right. You need the broker. You need the broker there to supervise. Exactly.
The parent.
That's right. That's exactly right. We need a chaperone here. But this does require licensure. Yes, this requires this is out of bounds for that broker's unlicensed. Now, here's what's interesting. If Chandler worked directly for the property's owner, what do y'all think? If Chandler was salaried working directly for the property's owner, Chandler could what?
Yeah.
He could
show it. Be exempt. And
Be
so,
exempted.
right. That's where you really have to pay attention to not just that they're salaried, but who they actually work for. Is everybody seeing how important that is with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I got one more for you for tonight, and this is how it would be formatted on the test. Seth mentioned earlier, what's a test question going to look like? Here you go. This is what they look like. Okay. So here's what I want. We're going to work through this with a couple of test taking strategies. What's the first test taking strategy we've already learned? Rather than read that wall of text,
Find a question.
Which of the following would not be allowable as a promotion? Everybody good with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to teach you another test taking strategy. You want another one?
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever you see a word in all caps, like right there, you don't have to read the word. You don't have to worry about the word. How many of y'all hate questions that have the word not in it? Like you're like, oh, I always mess those up. I always screw that up, right? We all do. We all do. Here's the strategy. Any question that has an all caps word, doesn't matter what the word is. Could the word be true if it's in all caps? Does that count?
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Yes. Could the word be false?
Yes.
Yes. Could the word be no?
Yeah.
Could the word be accept?
Yes.
Yes. Any word that's in all what?
Caps.
In all caps, here's what it tells you. You're going to label these answers as being true or false. Now, I'm not doing this for real right now. I'm just showing you what I mean. You're going to say true, true, false, true. The answer is always going to be the one that's what?
False.
Not false. Different.
Different, yes.
What if the answers look like this? And again, this is not necessarily the answer here. I'm just showing you the strategy. What if you go through this and you say, okay, false, true, false, false. What's the answer?
Well, now it's the true one.
The
It's
one that
different
is what?
Different.
It's different. So here's your strategy. Again, anytime you see a word in all what?
Caps.
Caps. Do you have to memorize a list of words or just know word in all caps?
Word in all caps.
Word in all caps. What's your strategy going to be? Label each answer choice as being what?
True or false.
True or false. And your final answer is going to be the one that's what?
Different.
How many of y'all grew up with Sesame Street? One of these things is not like the other. One of these just doesn't belong.
How
And
many
your answer,
how many of y'all grew up with 2 Chainz?
See,
I'm different. Yeah, I'm different.
Yeah, there you go. You can do that
I'm
too.
different.
See?
Yeah, I'm different.
That's right. Right. You want to
Pull
find the
up
answer
to the
that's
scene
different.
with my ceiling missing.
You want to find the answer that's different. So now we know what we're going to be doing. Drew is a licensed real estate broker in North Carolina who's managing an apartment complex and wants to run a promotion to help attract new tenants. Which of the following would be allowable as a promotion? You can just ignore that word not, right? So A, a free month's rent given to any new tenants who sign a 1-year lease. True or false? We can do that. What do you think? Give a new tenant a free month's rent. What do y'all think?
True.
I think that's totally true. Remember, we said a buyer never needs a real estate license. We said a seller never needs a real estate license. We said a landlord never needs a real estate license. And we said a renter who's signing a lease never needs a real estate license, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does everybody agree that this is true, that we could do this in A? What do y'all think?
You can totally give a new
We
tenant
can
one month of
give
free
a
rent.
tenant who's signing a lease money or rent
like-
or whatever.
It's like giving a buyer some money back on their
Absolutely.
purchase.
B, a free month's rent given to any current tenant who recommends a friend that signs a lease. True or false? What do you think?
False.
So you're referring for a fee. Sounds like a
And
real
here-
estate activity for
Here's the
me.
problem I got with that. The person who's getting the free rent ain't the person who's signing the lease. Y'all see how that's a problem?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not the same person, right? See, I've had people say, well, what's the difference between A and B? The difference between A and B is in A, the person who's getting the free rent is the person signing the lease. Everybody with me on that? In B, the person signing the lease ain't getting nothing. It's somebody who doesn't sign the lease, who's completely outside of the picture, that's getting the free rent. That's a problem, unless they have a what? Unless they have a license. C, a $50 gas gift card to any potential tenants who come to view an apartment on Saturday. Again, aren't we giving the money to the person who would be signing the lease?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't see any problem with that.
True.
Okay. How about D? 1 month's rent paid to any licensed real estate agent who produces a tenant that signs a 1-year lease.
True.
We
Yeah,
can do
like
that.
That's
They're
totally-
licensed.
They're licensed. One of these things is not like the other. One of these just doesn't belong.
B.
B.
B. You think that strategy will help you a little bit on those not and accept questions? What do y'all think?
Yes.
Mhm. It will. It'd be your best friend on those.
Very
How do you know to use that true false strategy? Anytime you see a word in the question that's in all what?
caps.
All caps. Doesn't matter what the word is.
Right, and that's no cap. That strategy works every
Not
time.
no cap. Okay.
It works every
You
time.
know a little something.
Right.
A little something.
Y'all better stop playing with Travis. Y'all gonna find out he know a lot of
You gonna learn. I'm not just invited to the cookout. The cookout's at my house, so you gonna learn.
You done brought the potato salad and
Right,
all.
exactly.
Better not have no raisins in it either.
Raisins.
Oh, he played you, Travis. He played you.
That's it for tonight, folks. You made it through Unit 1.1. Look at that. Look at that.
Good job.
And right on time at 10:32. So tomorrow night we will be taking a look at Unit 1.2. If you can, it would be absolutely phenomenal if you were able to go ahead and watch or listen to the video for that. We talked about the importance of